Testing, testing. Oh, I should probably put my headphones in. That would be smart. Let's get my my live chats open. Testing, testing. Obama, he's buying the properties in Florida. Climate change is a hoax. Obama's buying properties in Florida. I think that we are all set. Sorry if you're just joining us. We just started. Actually, there's one other thing I have to set up, which is the streamer bot thing that I have to do, so that some stuff is automated. Come on. Oh, I already have a copy of StreamerBot running. Do I? Ah, there we go. All right. So hopefully these are working. Ah, great, they're working. Okay, we should be good to go. Hopefully how's my audio going? Hope my audio's okay. All right, glad to hear that my audio's okay. Sorry, I have one more thing that I have to open up. And a bunch of things I have to close because otherwise my computer will crash. We'll be starting very soon. Yes, I'm aware. High computer load detected. I'm aware. OBS. Oh, shit. I know exactly what's happening. Actually, no, it should be okay. Maybe OBS is eating up a lot of my processing time, but yes, new topic. Well, not so new. I've done this topic before. It's just been a while. But unfortunately, one of the downsides of beating all the flat earthers is that there are no more flat earthers to talk to. So, all right, let's bring up our first guest. Yeah, I updated OBS and it's really struggling. Come on. Yeah, my computer's real struggling right now. Just closing out of as many things as I possibly can. All right, we currently have no guests in the guest box. But there was somebody in there initially, but we'll have to give it a few minutes, let people filter in. I do have my my flannel here, by the way, Lewis. It's just it's warming up. I don't need it. I don't need it. Climate doesn't change here in my brain vat. True. Yeah, absolutely true. Do you mean humans in particular? Well, I mean we as in humans, yes. And no, I could not vote in the presidential election for reasons that are annoying.
Hello.
Howdy, how's it going?
It's good. So I agree that like humans in general cause climate change, but I was just curious if you think that like the consumers are to blame or like the corporations.
I don't think that the blame can be laid with any particular, like, both. Both.
Both.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. Okay. That was all. That was my only question.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here.
Hmm?
I don't know why this Gotti guy is spamming. Give him a 5-minute mute. Put him in timeout. Yeah, so this is interesting because this is actually like really contentious amongst people on a certain side of the aisle. Like if you looked at a poll of like how many people actually believe in climate change, you'd find, at least in the United States, you'd find that it's a surprisingly low amount of people. Like a surprisingly low amount of people. And yet, I have a feeling that not very many people will actually want to come up and talk about it, because this is an empirical question, right? This is a question that you can study empirically. And so it's just going to be the case that, like, either you know the facts or you don't. And most people who don't think that climate change is real just don't know the facts, right? Al Gore told us SF would be underwater by this point, not even close to true. Al Gore isn't a scientist. Why are you listening to Al Gore and not scientists? All right, we have another guest.
Hello?
Hello, how's it going?
Yes, I am doing pretty good.
Chillman, do you think that humans are causing climate change?
No,
Why not?
because there's not sufficient evidence for me to conclude that.
What evidence have you looked for?
There's no empirical evidence, there's no eyewitness evidence, there's no evidence at all.
So you do agree that the climate is changing, right?
The climate, sure.
Okay. Do you agree that the climate is currently changing faster than it ever has in Earth's history?
No.
Okay. What if I showed you a chart of that being the case? That as far back as you look, the Earth's climate changes, but it changes very, very slowly. However, in the last 100 years, it's changed about 1,000 times faster than it ever has. Would that be
How
convincing
do
to
I
you?
know this? How do I know this chart is accurate?
So what kind of evidence would you accept?
I would say the evidence that God shows me.
So does God talk to you on the regular?
Yes.
Oh, have you considered seeking psychiatric help?
Why? Why
Because God's
why are
not
you
supposed
saying
to
that?
talk to you.
Why is God not supposed to talk to me?
Well, because usually, when God is talking to people, that's because they're hearing things.
How do you know it is not God?
Look, it may very well be, and you might be the one person that God actually talks to. I'm just a little bit skeptical of that, and
Okay,
all
let's
things
go back to the chart, right? Let's go back
all
to the
things
chart.
all things considered, the probability that the chart has good data is much, much higher than the probability of you actually hearing God's voice.
Interesting, interesting. But about the chart, how do I know it is accurate and it is telling the truth? How do I know?
So it turns out that when you examine data taken from multiple different sources, these are ice cores, these are actual temperature sensors placed around the Earth, these are things like the skeletons of sea sponges. It turns out they all show the exact same kind of temperature increase in the last 100 years. It would be very, very surprising if all of the charts are wrong, but they all agreed with each other for some reason.
Oh, interesting, interesting. So this shows it is changing the environment.
Well, the climate, yeah.
And how do you know this is caused by humans?
That's a good question. Would you agree that there is a strong correlation between greenhouse gas emissions and the temperature?
Sure, yes, yes.
Okay. Um, would you agree that humans are emitting larger and larger quantities of greenhouse gases in the last 100 years?
You mean when we burp, when we do this, when we have plantations where it emits the gas in the
I
factories? You
mean,
mean that?
I mean things like coal-fired power plants. I mean things like cars, automobiles that emit carbon dioxide primarily. Um, I mean things like that.
Interesting. So, but this
Do
is
you?
the caused by the cars. It's not caused
Well,
by us, though.
cars and electricity generation generally. Very generally, it's
Uh,
transportation and electricity generation. But surely you agree that this is something that is significantly more. We produce far more electricity now. We drive far. We do far more transportation now than we did 100 years ago, right?
Okay, but this is caused by the transportation, not by human.
Who do you think is driving?
It is God.
Bro's trolling. Bro's
God.
trolling. Bro was trolling. It was a good troll. It was the accent. The accent threw me off. I just assumed it was a good troll though. All right, somebody's in the comments being like, "Blitz, bring me up. Make this real." All right, this is the experimental philosopher Deathless Light.
So I'm an experimental philosopher and a systems theorist, and I cordially invite you to debate me at Yale.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you gonna pay for my plane ticket?
Yep.
Okay. When?
So let's set up a date. So how do you want?
By the way, are we talking about the topic, or what are we talking about?
No, we're gonna talk about God. We're gonna have a debate about God. I'm gonna drag.
Well, not right now. We're not. That's not the topic
right
today.
Well, if you want to have a conversation about God, we can have that. But
that's not the topic today.
I'm ready to drag you. You're ready. I'm just ready to drag you. I want to get it done.
What?
I'm ready to drag you. I want to get it done.
Okay. So, is there a contact at Yale that we can?
Yeah.
That you can put me in contact with.
Sure. Here's how we'd have to do this, because I live about 5 minutes away from it. I'll contact Whitehall, and you know what? We'll sell tickets to it. We'll put it on YouTube, and if you're not famous already, you'll get famous because I'll make you famous.
Yeah, is there somebody at Yale that you can put me in contact with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure is.
Have them email me. My information's on my link tree.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set it up, and then I'll send you the forms, and then you yay or nay.
Okay.
It'll be super simple. Okay.
You're gonna pay for my my accommodations, yeah?
The fuck I am.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to take a free trip to Yale. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's talk to Wu Ling. Yeah, I don't know. I think he might be obsessed with me, actually. Let's talk to Wu Ling.
Nigger! Nigger! Nigger!
Smartest climate change denier?
Hello, man. I just wanted to say that you bring hope, in my view, to America, and it is.
Unfortunately for you, I don't live in America.
Bro, what? Well, you're a Canadian?
No, I live in Europe.
But you're American.
I am American, yeah.
There is still hope. There is
All
still
right,
hope.
fair enough. Fair enough, brother. Thanks for being here.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
Yeah, look, the bottom of the road, bottom requirement here is just believe that humans cause climate change. That's all we need. I like
Blitz.
City,
Blitz.
what's up?
Do not debate Deathless, bro. Do not debate that guy. He is the master of word salad.
I know.
He's
I've
literally just
debated him
gonna
before.
say-
I've debated him before.
Yeah, it's pointless.
I mean, look, if he's gonna fly me out to Yale, I'd be happy to.
He'll be
Poke me
telling
up in a
me
nice
Jesus
hotel.
is 11 dimensions and like
Yeah,
we
I know.
form
I know his whole
universes
thing.
in our
I've talked with
head.
him several times.
Okay,
I know
I'm
his
just
whole
letting
thing.
you know.
Look, he would just look stupid for 60 minutes, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I'm not here to debate.
All right, later. In before you end up in the gym, you're too funny. Absolutely, it would be in a parking lot. You're 100% on the money.
Hey, what's up, man?
Rex, how's it going?
Good and yourself? I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the last time I encountered you. I was pretty drunk. I was glazing on you pretty hard. But
Well, that's
I appreciate you
chill. I
combating
appreciate it.
ignorance.
But do you think that
Um,
humans cause climate change?
Yes, I do. I'm
Okay.
not here to debate you. I'm sorry. I get it if you kick me really quick.
Yep, I gotta kick you. Them's the rules.
But thank you.
Take care, bud. Yeah, it seems like we're not getting any bites today, but we'll give it some time. So, I mean, we are getting bites. We're just not getting a lot of opposition. It does say join if you disagree, right? Maybe I should put opposition only in the same text. Something like this, maybe we do that. Let's put this here, and then we'll take this and we'll move that whole thing down. There we go. Actually, let's move it just slightly further down. And then bring this down. There we go. That's probably better. Let's talk to Ruben Len.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can, Ruben. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Sweet.
I don't study stuff like this, but is there something you believe that we've caused significantly, or is it just minor?
Oh no, we are the major driving force of climate change. Humans.
But what has changed significantly? Because
the temperature is about a degree the temperature is about a degree and a half warmer now than it was about 150 years ago.
That's not a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
It's not, because
if you take
are not melting.
Oh no, they absolutely are. Sea levels are rising. Sea levels have risen about 12 inches in the last 100 years.
I wouldn't say so.
Do you want me to show you a chart?
Where was that?
You want me to show you a chart?
Yeah, like I said, I don't study this stuff, but I don't see any effects in like everyday life. I don't see how it's a big deal.
Do you live near the coast? And have you lived near the coast for the last 150 years?
No, not really. I don't live near the coast, Arizona.
Well, then you're not going to see a whole lot of. Actually, no. You live in Arizona. How many 120-degree summers have you seen recently?
I've only been down here for like 5 years. We've reached 120 degrees, I think, like
most summers, huh?
In 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not normal. I grew up in Arizona. More than 120 degrees was quite unusual back then. You know, in the early 2000s.
No, I think the record is...
The record's 122. Or 123
no,
might
I think
be.
I think it was higher than that, sometimes in the 1940s or 30s.
So, anyway, here's a chart. This plots sea level from 1880 to today. And it goes from 175 millimeters, or 17.5 centimeters below what it was in the mid-90s, to almost 100 centimeters above what it was in the mid-90s. So what we're seeing is a fluctuation of nearly a foot since 1880.
How can that chart be true when there's beachside properties that haven't been moved due to water rising or anything like that?
You think that beaches haven't moved in the last 100 years?
I mean, like beachside properties.
In the last 100 years, you don't think that they have? I mean, 1 foot in sea level changes. It, like, you know, if your property's on at 2 foot elevation as opposed to 3 foot elevation, it's not going to change much. But if you were literally on the beach, yeah, they have.
I'm not sure, man, because Florida is still doing good. You know what I mean? And it's not more expensive to insure.
So 100 years ago, people didn't have, like, Florida wasn't nearly as built up as it is today.
Exactly, but it's not showing any sea level rises or anything.
So
and insurance companies
it's been about
aren't
a
charging
foot
more.
in about 140 years. So you have to understand that these are gradual changes.
But where was that study done? Is it only in like overdeveloped?
No, this
areas?
is the whole
coastlines.
This is the global average sea level.
All around the world.
The whole globe, yeah.
Okay. But have you noticed how it's not a big deal? Like, what if it subsides eventually?
How many hurricanes did we get? How many major hurricanes did we get last year? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember because I don't live in a. I know Florida's got like.
Florida saw 2 major hurricanes within like a month.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't see how that.
How long has California been in a drought? Do you happen to know?
What was that?
Do you happen to know how long California's been in a drought?
Well, whatever drought they had, it pretty much ended. I think it was like 5 years, and then it ended like 2 years ago. And since then, they've been getting floods.
So can I show you, do you want to see another chart?
About California or Florida?
Yeah, California.
Yeah, go ahead. I know they were in a drought for like 5 years, from like 2017 to like 20 something. But
red
these
is drought.
patterns
Red is extreme drought, right?
These patterns repeat, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
They don't. They don't repeat. That's the thing. They don't. This is not normal. This is not normal behavior for the global climate.
Florida gets hurricanes every year. It's not, you know what I mean?
They don't get 2 Category 5s in a month.
Well, I mean, that might sound conspiracy-like, but we do have weather manipulation. If you've seen what happened in Dubai.
What weather manipulation do you think we have?
And then the flooding. What was that?
Do you think that cloud seeding causes hurricanes?
Not necessarily hurricanes, but flooding.
Okay, so what explains the hurricanes in Florida?
Well, there's always hurricanes, but if you mess with
what
the weather,
explains 2 Category 5s? I think they were both Category 5 within a month. And then there was another hurricane that passed by Florida but didn't actually get through Florida, and that one was devastating.
Was that the one that went to North Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't keep up with their names, but yeah. I mean, but like I said, this happens every year. It's not.
No, it literally doesn't happen every year. Do you want me to show you a chart of hurricane, like category or hurricanes over time?
Florida gets hurricanes every year. That's why you can't even buy a house there without, it's state law. You have to have a certain amount of like home insurance and coverage. I have a brother.
You want another chart?
They're not going to prove anything because weather patterns always come and go. You know what I mean?
So what would it take to convince you that this is actually something that's serious? I could give you numerical numbers about, or numerical information about how expensive climate change is.
What do you mean how expensive it is?
Well, so you
because
can
of the damages?
So there's natural disasters, of course. There's also increasing temperatures means lower crop yields in various parts of the world, which increases costs of those crops and decreases the amount of food that's able to be produced, increasing inflation. There's also cost associated with human life, i.e., increasing rates of heat stroke and the like. Is this the kind of thing that would be convincing to you?
No, because if it's depends on the season, it wouldn't matter. Like you said, Arizona gets hotter every year, but it doesn't because we had some summers where it wasn't that hot. But
do you know how climate is different from weather? Are you familiar with this notion that climate and weather are the same thing?
Maybe if you just gather data, but how do you know that data won't reset eventually? We've only been doing it for 50 years.
So climate is long-term behavior.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Weather is short-term behavior. We have good data on long-term behavior on the scale of decades, right? Of course, you're going to see fluctuations in weather on the short term. That's noise. But we have very good data on long-term behavior, going back 100 years.
To use Arizona as an example, yes, obviously, if the city keeps expanding and we keep building, concrete apartments and all that, it's going to get warmer and warmer because we just keep expanding. But there's a cause and effect, but it's not going to go regional. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean by go regional. So there was a study that was conducted 2 years ago by Rebecca Newman in Illinois.
It won't heat up the whole Sonoran Desert, just where Phoenix is.
So there was a study conducted 2 years ago by Rebecca Newman in Illinois, published in Nature Communications, which is a very respectable journal. And what they showed is that solely as a result of extreme weather events that are attributable to climate change, not just normal climactic behavior, this is costing the world $143 billion per year.
And?
Well, 63% of that is loss of human life. And so, if somebody dies, you can ask how much loss in production are they, or how much do you lose in production because they're no longer alive? The rest of the 37% is like crop damage and building damage and things like this.
Okay.
Is $143 billion a year? That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, but would that ever go
That's coming out
away?
of your taxpayer dollars, by the way.
No, insurance companies are private.
Wait,
You know what I mean? Like if
what
there's
do
a
you think?
hurricane.
What do you think FEMA does? Okay, you're right. It's not coming out of your some of it's coming out of your taxpayer dollars. Some of it's coming out of your insurance premiums.
No, but I'm saying like we don't pay for like people like.
Do you
right
have
now,
homeowners?
Florida,
Do
everybody
you have
living in
homeowners
Florida.
insurance?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so then presumably you have fire insurance, right? That for your homeowner.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay, so
paying
your
for that,
premiums
not
are
the
higher because of
taxpayers.
it.
No, it depends on the area and where you live. If it's in a higher,
So where you live, you have fire insurance, so your premiums are higher because of it.
well, yeah, but that's only because obviously someone that lives in Montana isn't going to deal with the weather issues that someone in Phoenix has.
So
You know what I mean?
does it just not bother you that we're spending $143 billion per year on something preventable?
But that's my thing. You can't reduce it or prevent it anymore.
Sure, you can.
Cities are built up. Things are already in existence. What do you want people to do?
Burn less fossil fuels. Do carbon
How are we
capture.
gonna do it? How are we going to do that? Our homes need electricity. We need.
You live in this. You live in a state where you get 360 days of sun a year. Put solar panels on your roof.
Aren't those also damaging to the environment because they can't be recycled?
Not in the same way. Not in a way that's that hard to reverse.
But that's what I'm saying. We can't reverse it. Maybe we could.
We can.
prevent
It's just hard. But we're like 25 years late. If we had started worrying about this 25 years ago, maybe it would have been easier. Now it's going to be expensive. Like, okay, imagine that you have a car, right?
Remember that whole
Nobody did
Gore
anything
thing?
25 years ago. What are you talking about? Who
'Cause
did
it was a
anything?
hoax. It was a hoax.
It was a hoax? It was a hoax?
The ozone layer thing?
That this has nothing to do with the ozone layer.
No, but that's what they were saying back then in the early
No,
2000s. They said
the ozone layer was.
ozone.
Wait, do you think that the ozone layer thing was a hoax?
It was, because it's no longer an issue.
You know why it's an issue? Because
It's
the UN.
no longer an issue.
No, you know why it's not an issue? Sorry, it's not the UN. Because the entire world came together and banned CFCs. CFCs were putting a hole in the ozone layer, so there's a reason why CFCs aren't legal anymore. And it's because if we kept allowing them to be used all over the place, our ozone layer would have been depleted. So we fixed the problem, and now it's healing.
I need a refresh of what the CFCs are.
Chlorofluorocarbons. They're a chemical that was in hairspray, and it's also a coolant.
Are you sure?
Refrigerators and stuff. Yes, yeah, they're banned.
Are you sure? I'm gonna have to read into that.
One sec, let me pull up the thing. So, hold on, let me pull up the regulation. Yeah, in 2004, the Montreal Protocol was essentially implemented, which banned the use of CFCs.
I highly doubt that countries like China and Russia would cooperate, because they never do.
You know that China produces more green energy than the United States does, right?
I don't think so.
Based off of what? Vibes?
Just a sec, let me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was switching onto a Bluetooth device.
You're fine.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, so China
You said
produces
something.
more green energy than the United States does. I can.
No, I heard something about that. Even if America and Europe do their best for like 10 years, they won't even equate
that's
to
a
the amount
lie?
of coal that China is burning.
That's literally a lie put forward by the oil
Why would
industry.
anybody lie about something like that?
Because they don't want to go out of business, and they're the oil industry.
No,
Obviously,
it wasn't the oil industry pushing that thing.
Yeah,
It was
wait,
I think it was our entire government.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who do you think funds our government?
I'm in America. You're in Europe, so.
Who do you think? I'm an American citizen. Who do you think funds the American government? Who do you think are the biggest donors to both parties?
pharmaceuticals, oil industries, you name it. There's a lot.
Yeah,
You can't
exactly.
just say
So of
one.
course the government is going to push that, especially the conservative government, because the conservative government would rather the earth burn than, you know, risk their oil-filled pockets being shredded.
Well, I mean,
Wait,
I
so
wouldn't blame it all
are you
on
trusting the government on
conservatives.
this one?
No, I'm just saying. I kind of
Okay, so
agree. I
you
don't
can just
know.
like this data
Where are you
is
getting
just
those? Where are you
yeah,
getting,
this data is just
where are you
freely
getting
available.
that data?
You can get it from independent
From
watchdog
China?
organizations. Like this
Oh, okay.
like this is public information.
And you just trust it that China's going to give out the correct, accurate information?
Independent organizations can verify this.
But how?
You're allowed to go to China.
Oh, I know, but like, you know, you're still going to be depending on what the Chinese, whatever, I don't know what division or organization they have there that monitors their climate or carbon output, you know. So you're
So
still
you can actually
depending on their.
measure CO2 emissions from satellites. So you don't even need to do
okay.
that.
Well, so you don't agree that Russia and China and these other nations that are, you know, doing most of the world's production.
China is currently the biggest innovator when it comes to green technology. Russia's definitely
so?
not. Russia's terrible, but China is actually the biggest innovator when it comes to green technology. Yeah, they're pushing really hard because they know it's a risk. They know that you know oil's
You mean their
oil is
electric
only going to
vehicle
get more
division?
expensive. Sorry, what?
You mean their electric vehicle division?
No,
or
I'm
what?
talking about their energy production. I don't know. I don't know the details of their electric vehicles, but I'm sure that they have plenty of those.
Oh, okay.
Like this is like you've ingested propaganda.
Well, no, because it's like I said, even like China and Russia, they would wish like the glaciers would, because I know they want to do like a northern trade route, and they're wishing that the glaciers would melt or whatever. 'cause
Maybe
they have
Russia
to have-
does.
That's why they
China.
invested.
Why do you think? Like, who told you that China wants that?
It would be a cheaper trade route than going through all
China
these
doesn't have
canals where you
access
have
to glaciers. What? Where would
They
they?
would.
Where would they go through? What?
China and that's the whole thing
Where
why
do you
America
think
wants
China doesn't
Greenland
border the
now.
Arctic?
Oh, I know that, but that's the whole reason why. What's his name? The Republicans right now, they want to go after Greenland because China and Russia have a lot of icebreakers, and they're creating new trade routes for the futures. And
Russia
I know,
certainly does. The Republicans want to go after Greenland because of, well, who knows why? Because because there's rare earth elements there, lots of them, minerals primarily. It's not really a trade route thing. But
and why
like,
did they say it's a security thing?
because having access to resources is important for national security.
But we already have our own resources.
We don't have the kinds of minerals that are present in abundance in Greenland.
Even with Alaska?
Even with Alaska.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like, for the climate thing, we can't reverse climate change. That's what I'm saying.
Sure we can.
Because
you just have to actually do something.
But that's what I'm saying. What could we do? Well, I mean, we have natural preserves already where, you know,
cut
city
carbon
can't-
emissions. That's what you could do.
Like on an individual level or what?
At a governmental level. Implement policy. Implement carbon taxes. Like there's so much that could be done. It would be terrible. For who? For you? No, it'd be terrible for the oil industry, maybe.
Yeah, it would be terrible. I mean, can you imagine not being allowed to fly as many times as you want, being restricted? Oh, you can only fly
You'd be
like
allowed
twice
to.
a
It would just
year.
cost more.
That's terrible.
Well,
I mean,
look, your taxes are going to go up regardless. Food's going to get more expensive. I mean, like, even 1% of, like, sorry, that number's wrong.
And why don't we go back
Climate
to
change
nuclear
contributes
energy?
about 1% to global inflation. So climate change is already making your food and your eggs more expensive. Like your cost of living is going to go up because of this.
I don't really think so.
Okay, I have data that says otherwise, and you're going off of vibes.
Well, I mean, I'm not going off of vibes. It's just I don't keep track
What?
with every little thing. You know what I mean? The cause and effect of every. And I don't know why we don't go back to nuclear
Global
energy
warming
if
and
it was
heat
better.
extremes to enhance inflationary pressures. Published in Nature, one of the most prestigious scientific journals on the planet.
What was that?
This is a paper published in Nature, a scientific paper. Sorry, it's published in Communications, Earth and Environment. It's a subsidiary of Nature, discussing the inflationary pressures as a result of global warming. Cost of living is going to go up because of it.
I wouldn't say it's for global warming.
Okay, so you're just disagreeing with the scientific analysis, I guess?
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think cost is going up. It's going up for other reasons.
So you are disagreeing with the scientific analysis because I mean, surely there are other reasons, but headline inflation. So, so over the next 10 years, there's an expected of 1 to 3% inflation on food from global warming, and about 0.3 to 1% headline inflation from global warming alone. And then there will be other things, of course, that will increase costs, like immigration pressures, displacement of individuals, things like that. But
that's what I'm saying. I think that's what's causing the
but
the
climate change is contributing in a non-insignificant way, in a significant way, to inflation.
Because of natural disasters?
No, because of extreme weather events and because of increasing temperature.
Well, I could see that, but it's not such a substantial change. You know what I mean?
Food costs going up by 1 to 3% every year for the next 10 years because of climate change, because of global warming. Yeah,
I haven't seen food costs go up that much, and it's not. And I wouldn't say like
you haven't.
I haven't. No, I mean this is more of an economic thing. It has nothing to do with climate change.
Why do you? Okay, so let me ask you this: if supply of food goes down,
like people want to blame the whole egg thing on inflation, but the egg thing was just because of the bird flu.
So if the amount of food that people can grow decreases, will the cost increase?
Well, yeah, obviously, but
okay. Now if the Earth gets
there's various reasons
half a degree
for that
warmer.
Decrease.
If the Earth gets half a degree warmer, shortening the growth season of various food products, like staple food products like wheat and soy and corn, by even a few percent, would that increase the cost of those goods?
Well, yeah, it would, yeah.
So it is totally reasonable to expect that global warming will increase the cost of food.
But only if it keeps, only if the climate keeps deteriorating. What if it doesn't? What if we have still like better years? I'm saying that the weather patterns.
Weather and climate are not the same thing.
I know that, but.
So then why are you bringing up weather patterns?
Because climate data is based on yearly weather patterns. They study.
Yeah, it's based on like averages, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what if they go down? The averages.
They won't, because we know what's causing climate change, and it's CO2 emissions.
I don't know if you could put it all on that.
We can. In fact, there's a causative analysis that was done 8 years ago or something like this, that definitively proves that there's a causal relationship between increased CO2 emissions and increased global mean temperature.
I know, but here in the United States, I don't know about Europe, but the way the cities are built, we can't do anything about.
This has nothing to do with cities. This is the whole planet.
I know, but I'm just saying, if we were going to start, we would have to start, right, implementing certain things within our lifestyles.
Yes, like carbon taxes.
I disagree with carbon taxes.
Because it'll cost you 5% more, so that the Earth doesn't light on fire
first. No, I mean start with the wealthy. Yes, wealth. I just want to see that
the wealthy do significant or contribute significantly more to carbon emissions. So carbon taxes would tax them more significantly than the middle class or the lower or the working class.
But that's the thing; they'll never start with the wealthy. So I don't want to implement any
A carbon tax
unless they do it.
a carbon tax will disproportionately target the wealthy
In what way?
because so the wealthy disproportionately own cars, multiple cars. They disproportionately fly frequently. They disproportionately have larger homes, which means that they are using more, gas, natural gas or whatever to heat their homes or to cool their homes. They produce more CO2 emissions. We can even just go look at CO2 emissions by wealth bracket if you want.
I don't disagree with that. I totally agree with that.
So carbon taxes will hurt. So carbon taxes will hurt the wealthy the most. They will end up paying the most for carbon taxes.
That's what I'm saying. I don't disagree with that, but I would want to see it implemented towards the wealthy because I don't agree with them flying private when everybody could just fly commercial.
So if you implement a blanket carbon tax, it will affect the wealthy the most.
But there's no way to take it back. Like, what are you going to do? Take away their mansions, their large houses?
What do you mean take it back? It's heating the large houses that will emit more carbon. So if they have a large house, they'll end up paying more to heat it.
I get what you're saying. They'll pay more, but how is that fixing the environment? It's not like they're
look, taxes are one of the most effective ways of incentivizing behavior, right? If you want to change someone's behavior, you tax the thing that you don't want them to do. And then, because people don't like paying taxes, they will change their behavior. So this means that people with large homes won't keep their home heated the entire winter when they're at their winter home, right? Maybe they won't fly in their private jet as often because it costs 10% more. Like this is how governments suggest behavior all the time.
But the rich can already do that, and they will pay the taxes.
Great, and then we can use that tax. Then we can use that tax that they pay. We can use that tax that they pay to scrub carbon from the atmosphere. It's a win-win.
How are you going to scrub the carbon from the atmosphere?
Carbon scrubbers, they're a thing.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, putting on taxes is not going to change.
That's like the most effective way of changing behavior.
But it won't always be great, you know what I mean? Because it's going to restrict everybody's life.
Not if you...
And people are already... If you're saying inflation's going up because natural disaster and crops and everything, it's going to be more expensive to buy food, and now you want to increase even carbon taxes, you're not solving the problem.
What? How do you propose we solve the problem?
That's what I'm saying. There is no way to reverse it because
so you realize that in the next 100 years we can extrapolate out how much the sea level will rise if we continue producing carbon at the rate that we're producing it at, which is pretty substantial. Sea level will rise about another 2 to 3 feet, which will displace up to 500 million people. What do you suggest we do with those people?
They can move inland. I don't know.
Where do you think inland is? It's where you live.
That's what I'm saying, man. But
so you'll be okay with absorbing 500 million immigrants in the next 100 years? You think that's sustainable, and that's you think that will be good? You think that will be good for global society?
Why would they have to be immigrants? Everybody could just stay in
because they have to move. That's what an immigrant is. Somebody who has to move.
I know, but cities are usually built around ports. You know what I'm saying? So they would just have to go inland in their own country. They don't have to move out of the country.
Okay,
what you're saying,
so they will move somewhere. Where will the people that already live in the place where they're trying to move go?
Somewhere else. I don't know. Build other cities.
That's what makes immigrants.
That's what I know, but like again, this doesn't. It's like going back and forth. It makes no sense. There's no way to reverse it.
There literally is. I gave you a way to do it. You just don't like it because your eggs might cost 2% more.
But when will it stop?
When we fix the problem. When we have cut off greenhouse gas emissions. When we have ceased greenhouse gas emissions, that's when it stops.
But is there any country that's even going remotely towards a goal?
Yes, there are countries that are already 100% carbon neutral.
Like,
let me give you the list.
Okay, but those countries don't produce anything. Obviously, it's easy for a country like Sweden or stuff like that they don't have shops in their own country.
You think?
But
Wait,
like
hold on,
like
hold
a
on. You think
country
that
that's a
Sweden doesn't
powerhouse.
have shops?
No, I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean. Like a small little Bavarian country that's not known for producing something.
Hey,
But like compare that to
just a
China
quick
that
question.
has to
Quick question.
produce.
Ruben, where's Bavaria?
The Bavarian countries, I don't know, somewhere above Germany, somewhere around there. Well, I'm
There,
referring to like. Go ahead.
it's fine.
I know Sweden wouldn't be. I know Sweden is not part of the Bavarian language family or
Bavaria is in
whatever.
the south of Germany.
That's what I'm saying.
So let's just look at emissions per capita. So this is per capita in 2023. So
Okay, but keep in mind that it has to be a country that produces stuff for like the whole world, because you can't expect China to go emissions as well as a country that doesn't really produce much, other than sustaining its own people. There's a difference.
we're gonna look at renewable production percent. This actually doesn't include nuclear, but there are 20 countries that have 90% of their energy production being renewable. Again, not including nuclear. And this includes...
Are they all in Europe?
No.
You sure?
Yes. In fact, about 2/3 of them are in Africa. Africa or South America. But Brazil, huge country, right? Produces has a ton of manufacturing, produces a lot of stuff. 89% renewable.
Okay.
New Zealand, large agricultural production, 88%. Austria, big industrial hub, 85%. Do you know how far we have to go down to get to the United States?
I'm pretty sure we're like 25th or something like that on the list.
We are 119th in percentage renewable.
Really?
Yeah. 23% renewable energy.
Even though we've had like incentive programs and stuff like that?
You think that those have been useful?
I think so.
No.
I bought an
they
electric
haven't.
car because of it.
By the way, China has a higher percentage of its energy production being renewable than the United States does.
So the United States is just, spreading lies about China or what?
Yes. Literally, yes.
So then, again, if we're shifting towards that, then we are making a difference. What else can we do?
We aren't. The rest of the world is.
Well, we were in the Paris Climate Agreement Act until, Trump.
Do you think that we should have stayed in it?
Yeah, like we could have. I don't think it would have cost us that much more to shift some of our energy. But
that's literally all I'm asking for, and you've been fighting me on it this whole way.
No, I'm just fighting about we can't reverse what we've already done. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we literally can with carbon scrubbers.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like everyday life, to expect people to drive electric or something like that it's just not going to happen.
Why not?
Because it's expensive. Not everybody can afford an electric car.
Do you know how much expensive a Ford F-150 costs?
Yeah, I know.
Electric cars are cheaper than that.
Oh, I know. I'm saying like your average person doesn't drive like a nice fully loaded pickup truck. You know what I'm saying? They're probably driving like your average sedan. And then to expect
how
them
much?
to get
How
a
much is
Tesla
an average
that starts
sedan?
around,
like 25K, 30K, something like that.
I would say so. Yeah, if you're not buying anything premium.
All right.
And
let's
then
look
to
at the
expect them to
cost of
get
the
like
Chevy
a Tesla.
Volt.
Oh.
I just picked a Chevy Volt, 35,000. Actually, less than 35,000.
Okay, but you have to understand a lot of people live in apartments. Not everybody has the capability to charge their car at night in their own garage. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God! Wait a minute. Has the price of
And
new cars
we don't
gone
have
up so much?
We
This
don't
is
have
for a
the
used Chevy Volt, by the
infrastructure.
way, from 2019. Wait, I can look up electric car prices 2024. Let's
And then we
average
don't
price
have
on
the
electric car in
infrastructure.
2025. We don't. Then build it. Build the infrastructure. What is government for except building
And
infrastructure?
and that's gonna have a toll on climate change.
No,
You know
it
what I'm
won't. It's
saying?
really not. It doesn't take that much to build infrastructure. It doesn't take
That's
that
why
much.
that's why I ended up getting a Tesla, because if I were to get like a regular, car, taking road trips would be almost impossible. So at least with Tesla, they have charging stations, even in like, you know, smaller cities that are, you know, connecting cities to on your road trips to get to somewhere. Like if I were to drive from Phoenix to Las Vegas, I could do it because we have
So,
Tesla
by the way, the
superchargers.
average EV price in 2024 for a new car is about $5,000 more than an internal combustion engine car.
Okay.
And you can charge your car on any charger, right?
Yeah, you just have to get the adapters.
Yeah. So like it's
But again, not everybody lives in a house. You know what I'm saying? Some people are in an apartment. You can't expect them to charge every day.
I lived in an apartment. Well, when I lived in an apartment 8 years ago. And keep in mind, this was 8 years ago. Was it 8 years ago? Yeah, about 8 years ago. There were like 3 charging stations in the apartment's. What's it called? It was a small apartment complex in the parking lot.
Parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was 8 years ago.
Maybe that's in Europe, but in America, apartment
This
complexes
was
don't
in the
even
United
care.
States.
Oh. Okay. I was gonna say, other than parking garages, like public, mall parking garages, usually apartment complexes are not gonna provide that for you. From what I've seen throughout Phoenix. I don't know about every other city, but so it would have to be like an infrastructure change.
Yeah.
Because
and
we have
that's a
gas
thing that we
stations
can
on every
do. We
corner.
can do infrastructure.
But nothing's happening. So it's like, don't create
What do you mean nothing's happening? What do you mean nothing's happening?
They're not building up enough electric charging stations.
Why
But
do
then
you
they
think
wanna
that is?
create
Why do you
they're
think
creating
that
this-
is?
They want to create incentive programs for buying electric cars, but then it's like we don't have the infrastructure.
Look, why do you think this isn't happening?
What's not happening? Oh, they're not
green
building
infrastructure, green like renewable programs being developed. Why do you
Because
think
it
that
costs-
carbon
because it
taxes? Why
costs
isn't
too
this
much.
happening?
because it's costing too much money.
To be clear, carbon taxes don't cost any money, and you
No,
could
I mean,
fund
build-
all
if
of
we were
this with
to-
a carbon tax.
What do you mean?
You could fund all of the infrastructure changes that you need to with a carbon tax.
That would take forever, though.
It really wouldn't.
I would say you'd have to create the charging stations before you make everyone go electric. Well, you don't have to force
You wouldn't
them to go
be
electric,
making
but-
everybody go electric. You know that we already have taxes on gasoline, right?
Yeah, we know. I know.
Okay, so like all that would happen is that those taxes would go up by, I don't know, like 2% or 1%.
But we're just switching. Fossil fuels aren't always the problem, though, because
They
just
are the
switching-
problem. They are literally the problem.
I know, but you said earlier. You said these rich people are buying these big homes where it takes more.
Yes, those
energy
burn
to-
fossil fuels.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But then you're going to charge your electric car from your house, and that burns
Yeah.
fossil fuels.
Yeah, well,
So it's-
not if you're getting your energy production from a non-fossil fueled electric energy production plant.
I know, but not everybody lives in a state where solar panels are the best way to go.
Solar panels aren't the only non-carbon emitting energy production. You live in Arizona, probably a significant chunk of your electricity comes from nuclear.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
Nuclear
Well,
doesn't produce
I don't know
fossil
why we-
fuels.
I know, but why don't we just go back to nuclear energy then? I know it's not.
That
the safest
sounds
thing.
great, but you know who's not interested in doing that?
I have no idea.
Well, it's actually both
Beside-
Republicans and the Democrats. Neither of them really want nuclear power.
That's what I'm saying. So
But you know what? Unfortunately, you know what the problem is with nuclear? It's expensive to start up. It's expensive to build plants, and you don't want to pay more taxes to do that.
but that's the thing. Like, I don't see how we're gonna make a change. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you understand. Okay. Have you ever
It's like
had a
this-
bad tooth?
Yeah, I've had a bad tooth.
Okay, so like if you had gone to the dentist earlier, it probably wouldn't have sucked as much, right?
Yeah, you would reverse the cavity and you wouldn't have to get a root canal.
Right. But because you waited so long, you have to go get an expensive root canal that hurts a lot, right?
Yeah, but
But the alternative is not you just let the tooth rot in your mouth and then you die, right? That's not the solution. You
well, yeah,
tighten
no.
your belt, you save for a few months for your root canal, or maybe you dip into your savings for whatever for the root canal. You go endure the pain, and you solve the problem.
I know, but we're just not even moving towards it. You know what I mean? So,
So vote for the politicians who do.
but they don't. That's the thing. Even Democrats, they get in and they don't make a change. So it's like no matter what party you vote for, it depends on the
Do you
government
actually
and
think that that's true?
what the country has
How did
as
you
a
feel?
goal.
So
Our country in the United States, we don't have the goal of going, zero carbon. Like I know other
that's
European
because people
countries
like you are
want
doomers
to do it
about it.
by
You're like, oh, we can't do anything about it. Like the whole point of a democracy is that if enough people want something, it happens. That's the whole point.
I know, but I don't see how we're gonna do it. So besides just voting and creating a carbon tax, but I don't know. We'll see.
That's a way to do
Personally, I
it.
don't. But do you see any change? Like, okay, those countries that have gone carbon neutral, do you see any change in their environment or anything? Like,
It's
is
a
it going to make a
global
difference
issue.
on?
So it's not. So one country, it's not like if one country goes carbon neutral, their climate won't change because all of their neighbors are not carbon neutral, and the rest of the world is not carbon neutral.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't
That's
control what
why.
other people do.
Yes, we essentially can. It's called global sanctions. Like it's a thing that can be done. And B, the countries that will have the most significant impact on this will be the countries that produce the most CO2. And those are countries like India. India's actually doing a lot better than one would expect that they'd be doing, but India is a large producer. China's a large producer. The United States is a wildly large producer, like the most of, it's the most per capita of any country. Actually, that's not true. There are some oil states in the Middle East that produce more per capita. But the point is that it's the burden is on the large countries to do something about it. And the United States is like the only large country. The United States and Russia really are the only large countries that aren't.
I know, but do you know why they're not doing this?
Well, Russia's a pariah state, so
No, I mean,
whatever.
like in general, what you're not talking about is how this is going to hurt so many industries and the loss
Yeah,
of
it'll
so
hurt.
many
You're
jobs.
right. It'll hurt the fossil fuel industry. Absolutely, I agree. You know who it'll help? It'll help semiconductor
No,
industries.
it goes
It'll
even
help.
into textiles. It goes into other things,
How will
not
it?
just
How will it?
the
How
fossil,
will it hurt textiles?
because those go hand in hand with fossil fuel consumption.
How?
Sometimes, not always.
Wait. What? Do you have to burn fossil fuels in order to make your textiles?
No, but you know what I mean. Like they're using
No, I
up
don't know what you
energy.
mean.
They
Yes,
do.
they use energy. They'll have to
Factories
get
and
their
stuff.
energy from somewhere else. Which
Yeah, and
that's
if they
the
don't
whole
switch to
point of switching.
nuclear, but it will create a loss of jobs and a loss of markets.
It'll create a loss of
It
jobs
will.
in the fossil fuel industry, yes, and it'll create an increase of jobs in the renewable industry.
Yeah, but even the renewable industry has its effects on the environment, like the lithium
Not
mining places and stuff
on
like
climate
that.
change. Not on climate change. It doesn't.
Just the, creating the mines
It
and all
does create
that.
pollution. There is a degree of pollution absolutely that it creates, but that pollution that is a problem that can be solved with more efficiency, which means that more money needs to be put into it. More efficiency, better
Exactly.
cleanup methods, etc. But like these are like if you're not putting money into it,
This
you're not going to solve the
correction-
problems.
This correction is gonna hurt. You know what I mean?
You're right. It
It's not
will.
just-
We should have done something about it 25 years ago.
we at least started 25 years ago.
Really?
I would say so. I mean, I'm a millennial, so I've seen
So am
small
I.
little. Throughout our lifetime, we've seen some change. You know what I mean? I heard like back in the 60s and 50s, it was worse.
Well, yeah, of course it was worse.
So we've done something.
So I'm actually interested in knowing what the percentage of renewable is. So starting, oh, that's coal. I don't want coal. I want total energy consumption. Okay, so no, I don't, not renewable. I want non-renewable. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is the kind of chart that I want. So, we have that starting. Oh, that's actually really disappointing. So, starting in say 2000, the amount of renewable energy production that we had, in like 2000 was like only like 5% less than it is today.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's a lot of things involved, like the oil industry and all that. It's involved in our government. It's involved.
Yeah, so get them
other
out.
stuff.
Stop voting for Republicans. Not saying that you do, but stop voting for Republicans that have the oil industry in their back pocket.
I mean, the Democrats do as well. It's
not nearly as much.
They would be more with like the pharmaceuticals, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This conversation eventually is just gonna dissolve because there's, like I said, yeah, there are things we could do, but I mean, I always thought that we always had like preserves and stuff and natural wildlife places where
that doesn't matter for climate change. That matters zero.
It does. If they chop down the Amazon, it would have a big impact.
It literally doesn't. I mean, like that'll have an impact because the Amazon produces like or eats up some carbon from the atmosphere, but like it literally having like nature reserves doesn't help the climate like at all.
So then why do we have them?
Because they're nice.
Okay, but you don't think if the Amazon goes away, it would have an impact at all?
Yeah. So look, like the nature preserves that we have in the U.S., clearly not really having an effect. The Amazon is the largest rainforest in the world, so absolutely, if you got rid of the entire Amazon, that would be a problem. But that would be a problem for a lot different reasons. Namely that it's one of the largest producers of oxygen, right? So that would be really bad. It also controls like the Amazon is really, really important for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
but like nature preserves in the U.S. are not like a significant like having like a national park is not like how you fix climate change.
Oh no, I'm not talking about a national park. I'm talking about like acres and acres of preserve that people can't go and logging companies can't go there and just take it all. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they wanted to do to the Amazon, and we only know about it because
why are we talking about the Amazon?
The
because
wildfires.
can your voice do anything about the Amazon?
Well, no, but it was just because of the wildfires that they had. I think it was like a few years ago. But no, we would have to stick to whatever's in the United States. But I was just using that as an example. Like it does, having wild preserves does help the environment.
It helps the environment, but that's not the kind of thing that fixes climate change or reverses climate change.
Well, yeah, the only thing we could do now is reduce our carbon consumption, but that would hurt a lot of industries, and that's why it's
you're right. Done. Would you rather it hurt now or hurt more later?
But if one industry shuts down in the United States, it's just going to pick up in a different country. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's not
true. That's why I use that.
So if we stopped burning coal, why would that mean that suddenly another country would start burning more coal?
Oh, I'm saying if we shut down our factories and certain things.
We're talking about energy jobs, not manufacturing jobs.
I know, but I'm just saying our carbon footprint, where our factories and stuff they would have to run on nuclear instead of
nuclear or solar or wind or a hydro or hydro.
That's expensive, bro.
That solar is cheaper than solar is I think the cheapest type of energy that we have available right now.
Well, yeah, it would be the cheapest out of the other ones, but
it's cheaper than fossil fuels.
It's
cheaper than fossil fuels.
No, I've been quoted solar panels for my house. It's pretty expensive.
Over time. So just pulling up a table here. So if we look at when is this from? I just want to. This is from 2021. No, I don't. It's not the kind of chart that I want. By type. I want something recent. This is from Stanford. Well, we could. I'll just look up the cost of energy production by solar. So, renewable power generation costs in 2023, right? Just letting it load. Oh, actually, here's a chart. So this isn't a great chart, but it's like because it's just not, it's kind of low resolution, but it'll do. So this is from 2009 to 2009 to 2024.
Okay.
So both wind and solar are cheaper than gas, coal, and are cheaper than both gas and coal.
Over time, maybe, right?
Yeah. This is over the lifetime of, you know, whatever, over like the plant or over the solar panels or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, they would just have to make the switch.
Yeah.
But it would have to go through legislation and stuff. I just
Yeah,
don't
so you
see
have
it
to vote for
happening.
people that want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But again, we'll see
Are you gonna do that?
what happens.
Are you gonna vote for people that are gonna do that?
Well, right now, Arizona State doesn't. None of the even like the local, like voting locally, no one's really running on stuff like that anymore. Climate change has kind of taken a backseat in our politics.
Have you looked at the policy? I can assure you, by the way, if you just go look at any, I don't know where you are in Arizona. I grew up in Arizona, so if you go look at the representatives in your district,
Phoenix,
or you look, okay, yeah, great, that's where I grew up. If you look at the representatives in your district, you look at the senators, and you just look at their web pages, they will have a section on climate. They'll have a section on energy or something like that. And I can guarantee you that whoever's running for Senate next, whoever's running for your congressperson next or whatever, the Democrat will at least say something like, we will push for greater green energy production. And the Republican candidate will say something like, we will push for greater oil and gas energy independence. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, I know, yeah. But I'm saying right now,
there is a correct choice here.
If you make climate your main thing about politics, but sadly, people don't make climate change their number one voting issue.
I'm telling you that you should.
Put it up there with like other things.
I'm telling you that it should be your main thing. You're a millennial. Your children will suffer because of what we are not doing now.
I mean, I guess, but I don't see people like panicking about it, man. I mean, I know you have is this your whole channel, like about climate change? Oh, okay.
No.
So you just chose this topic today? Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, well, I don't know what else to say. I mean, well, hopefully we'll see some change eventually, but I'm not against climate change efforts. I'm just saying it's not people's main.
I don't care about people. I care about you.
Issue.
I care about you, Ruben.
Making it my primary voting issue? Yeah. I don't think it will be.
It should be. If you care about your children, it should be. Your future children, or your future, or your parent, or your siblings' children. If you care about any of them, it should be.
I care more about like economics and stuff like that. I'm not gonna make climate change my number one priority. I think it's great if we could do both.
How is caring about economics working for you right now?
Right now, it's not working that well because the economy's not doing great because of tariffs. But at least the United States. I can't
So
speak about
would you
Europe.
say it seems like you know whoever you vote for, economics just aren't great right now. So why vote on that?
Well, there's more than just economics. There's other things
Well, that's
too.
what you said.
I know, but I'm just saying, in a general sense, people mostly vote for their pocketbook. They don't vote for.
I'm not talking to most people. I'm talking to you.
Same here, man. I would prefer a stronger economy over these. I would call these like secondary issues.
So what's lovely is that the people who tend to be better on economy also tend to be better on climate change. Cranky Old Keeper, thanks for the $10. I mean, just
Can you give an
statistically,
example?
the economy does better. Like, if you just look over the last 45 years, the economy does better under Democrats. Just like that, that's a statistical truth. And while I'm not like a liberal, I'm more left leaning than that. Like it's a statistical truth that in the last 45 years, the economy does better under liberals, right, than it does under conservatives. And it also happens to be that liberals tend to be more in favor of doing something about climate change. So if you want to vote for the economy, if you want to vote for your pocketbook, vote for liberals, I guess. And then we both win.
I just can't get behind some of the liberal agenda. That's the only thing. From an economic standpoint, it's all right, but just other things.
I thought you
other
were
side
voting for
issues
the
that-
economy. It's the woke, isn't it? Are they too woke for you?
No, it's other things. But I mean, you think the economy was great under Biden, though? I don't see how they did anything great.
I mean, GDP was growing, the stock market was going up. Inflation was a thing. We were coming out of a pandemic, but like, I don't know what you expect from a pandemic, so.
Well, you could say the same thing about Trump. The reason why things went south is because of the pandemic that came.
Well, wait a minute, but the pandemic was 5 years ago. Why would things have gone south?
His
now?
First term, not this term. No, not this term. His first term. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Things went south because of the pandemic. That's absolutely true.
And now he's coming in and he's got these wars and all this nonsense to deal with. I'm not defending Trump because I didn't vote for him.
He has tariffs, right? He personally ruined the economy. He personally destroyed what we're currently like what you're dealing with now, like increased prices and like in any sort of consumer goods is on him.
Well, yeah, but do you think it's wrong to ask for reciprocal tariffs on a country?
Okay. Question. How big?
Now we're going into economics.
Yeah.
If you want to stick to climate change, and
it's
talk
fine.
to someone
It's fine.
else,
We need to talk about this anyway. How big do you think the tariff is that Cambodia has on the United States?
I didn't look into individual countries' tariffs.
Okay, well, according to Trump's numbers, it was 97%. Do you think that that's true?
No, probably not. He inflates things.
So these reciprocal tariffs, were they actually reciprocal?
I didn't look beforehand. Like,
they were not.
You know what I mean?
These were not reciprocal tariffs. These were just a measure of trade deficit.
Yeah,
this was just Trump putting in place tariffs on countries that we sell or that we buy a lot of stuff from. That's all he was doing. There's no reciprocity to it at all.
Oh, okay. So he just went after their trade deficit? And
yes,
that's what it was.
That's all he did.
Okay. Well, again, yeah, I didn't vote for him, so. But I like to just stay somewhere in the middle and recognize that things weren't that great under Democratic leadership either.
How old are you? You said you're a millennial. Are you an older millennial or a younger millennial?
Younger.
Okay, yeah, me too. I was born in '93. So I don't know about you, but like I was just entering college as we were leaving. Actually, is that true? Yeah, I was just entering college as we were leaving the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And so I didn't feel the burn of that too much.
Same
but
here.
Surely you understand.
I was too young.
Yeah. But surely you understand that like it was really, really bad, and then Obama pulled us out of that kicking and screaming, right?
Well, that was more of a housing issue.
No,
the
it
economy
wasn't.
crashed because lenders were giving out loans to people that couldn't even.
And then people were investing in those. People were buying those loans and made the loans particularly desirable.
Okay, but you don't. You don't think this caused inflation when, under the Biden, they gave out those PPE loans and stuff like that, and people took advantage of it, and it was fraud, and they
Yeah,
were
sure
printing out
did.
stimulus checks. It
Sure
added
did. I
to
mean, Trump put his
inflation.
name on stimulus.
So,
Obviously, yes, any sort of spending that you do to try to resolve a global pandemic with all of the supply chain shortages that come from that is going to be rough. It's going to cause inflation. Yeah, sure. But I don't know what else you think that anybody should do.
oh, I'm just saying that wasn't the greatest thing, and that's why inflation is so high right now. Because under Biden,
Also, to be clear, I'm pretty sure the
I
PPP
know
loans
Trump.
were from the Trump administration.
Crap, I don't
Yeah, that
remember.
was 2020. That was past. The Paycheck Protection Program was almost a $1 trillion business loan program established by the United States federal government during the Trump administration in 2020.
Okay. So it was just the
So
other stimulus packages that were passed under Biden?
yeah,
Just
well,
like, I think two more.
some stuff was like there was certainly some significant spending under Biden, absolutely. Like the CHIPS Act was the CHIPS Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. These are all things that Biden passed. And sure, I'm sure that those.
Did you agree with that? The
I
inflation. Do you still? Can I ask? Do you still vote in American elections as someone
I
living
can
abroad?
Arizona made it very, very difficult for me to vote in 2024, so I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
And you can blame the Arizona Secretary of State for that. But anyway, suffice it to say, like statistically, if you just like look, I mean, it's just true. Like if you just look at like stock market growth, or if you just look at like wage growth or whatever under Democrats in the last 45 years, you just get better returns. Like that, like that's just a statistical truth. If you don't like that, that's fine, I guess. But like, and I'm happy to shill for Democrats here because it means that we also get better climate change policy. We should look, if you don't like the woke stuff, then sure, vote for Republicans. But that's a stupid reason to vote against your own self-interest, both regarding your children's future and your own financial well-being.
Well, yeah, it was just the immigration thing. I think the Republicans won on the immigration issue.
The Republicans won because of inflation. That's the only reason. That's what the exit poll said.
You think so?
Yeah, well, that's what the exit poll said.
But then you just said that Republicans were probably more primarily responsible for the inflation.
Yeah.
So how did they win?
Their messaging was better. And
Well,
because we saw the inflation under Biden, right? Also, no, I didn't really blame the Republicans for inflation. I blamed the pandemic for inflation.
Okay.
Which, I mean, inflation happened worldwide, so of course it was the pandemic and not any particular U.S. policy, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah, the pandemic caused supply chain issues and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah,
not
in fact,
specifically.
There's an interesting observation that you can make that for the countries that had for the wealthy countries that had major elections in the last 5 years after the pandemic, whatever party was in power in the year or two following the pandemic, in almost all cases lost, just because people just didn't want that party to be in power because they blamed that party for the pandemic and for the inflation that followed.
I know, but
the U.S. administrations. I mean, the U.S. is not really an exception here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ruben, I'm going to let you go, but thanks for being here. Sorry for being so harsh on you.
No, it's all good.
Vote for the Green Party. If you don't like either, vote for the Green Party.
I actually have to Google what carbon scrubbers are because I didn't know we had that technology.
They are very cool, and you should.
Okay. All right, man.
All right, take care, Ruben. All right, we have some guests in the guest box. By the way, I want to shout out a super chat because we got a super chat. So I'm going to shout out a super chat. From Cranky Old Cuber saying, "Good morning, evening to me. Your patience is something I wish I had more of. Why does this guy think, but it will be hard as some kind of argument for a status quo?" Yeah, that is the biggest problem. People realize, a lot of people recognize that climate change is a thing that we should do. Yeah, super chat on YouTube, right? Because I'm streaming on YouTube as well. The thing is if we had started, look, climate scientists have known and accurately predicted what's been happening for the last 30 years, 40 years, perhaps even. And the trouble is if we had done something back then, it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy to fix. Is that the real Barack Obama?
Sure, yes.
Let me be clear. No, I don't think I can do that voice. All right, so Barack Obama, do you think that we caused climate change?
I think it is accelerated by human activity, but I don't think we caused it.
What would you say if I gave you a causative analysis that determined that anthropogenic CO2 emissions are the major factor driving climate change?
Yeah, I think we're accelerating, but I don't think we are
What would you do if I gave
causing.
you a peer-reviewed causative analysis of the causes of climate change and showed you that CO2 emissions are the are the biggest contributing factor to those causes?
Well, I would read it.
Okay, let me show you. It's a great paper, and it's fairly easy to read if you have some pretty straightforward mathematics. Oops.
And who
here it is.
published this paper?
You can look for yourself. It's by a fellow whose first name is Adolf, which isn't a good look, but you know, it's still, I guess, a fairly common name in the US or in Germany. It was published like 8 years ago or 9 years ago or something like this. But you should pull it up. They do a really clever causative analysis.
And how do you think this is solvable?
Sorry, what was that word? How do you think that this is what? Oh,
What
solvable.
is the solution?
Oh, probably. I mean, like, practically speaking, a carbon tax, and then spending that tax money on infrastructure to, you know, make switching to renewables cheaper. At least at the like the country by country level, that's the easiest way to do it. And more dramatically, just policy change that can like ban certain types of emissions and just, you know, or ban carbon emissions by 2035 or something like this, right? But like more
I
dramatically,
actually studied shipping, and this is a big deal in shipping.
Sorry, one more time.
I study shipping, and this is a big deal in shipping. This is a big subject that people are talking about.
You study sleeping?
Shipping. You know, like boats transferring.
Oh, shipping. Okay, yes, of course.
Containers,
Yes.
gas, oil.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I understand. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The shipping industry burns so much dirty fuel, so that is an issue that needs to be solved. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you put it in like comparison to the rest of the world, it's actually a very small percentage.
What
shipping?
I think so. So I haven't seen a breakdown, but I do know that transportation makes up like a third of all carbon emissions, or maybe it's like half of all carbon emissions. So the question is how much of that half is shipping?
It is not as high as most people think. But I think a lot of the sentiment...
Oh yeah, okay, no, it's actually way lower. It's about 3%.
Yes, it's like 3%.
Yeah, okay. I mean, still worth dealing with. But if it's less significant than that, then it'll impact that sector less.
Yeah, but what they're doing has a lot of consequences. The consequences
what
are
the
that
shipping industry is doing. Well, yeah, that's true.
It can't. Small companies can't survive. It kills
in the shipping
small
industry.
Companies. Yes.
I mean that okay, but that's an industry-specific issue. I don't know what that has to do with climate change.
No, I'm just saying like I don't think it's handled well. I think it's managed and like I think we're too focused on Europe and the shipping industry and things like that. Where it's not like as much of the total pollution in the world. It's not a big percentage, but
yeah,
like we're not looking at things like China or Pakistan or India or Bangladesh.
Well, I mean, we are China. So, what part of the world are you from?
I'm from southeastern Europe.
Oh, okay. Croatia?
Greece.
Greece. Okay. So China actually has better, like a larger fraction of its energy production is renewable than the United States has, which is surprising to a lot of people. But I mean, it's just the case. And in fact, Greece has better, has a higher percentage of its energy production being renewable than the United States does.
China, I mean, China.
Both
with
China
the
and
oil-
Greece are doing better than the United States on renewable energy production.
Yeah, because they make a lot of solar panels and they make electric cars. The Chinese.
Yeah, which is good.
But in general, in countries like Bangladesh or like India, you see like these rivers of trash, and they have like these factories that pump out toxic gas. Basically, like
Well, look,
Lahore
so
in
environmental
Pakistan.
pollution, like dumping into rivers, is bad, but it's a separate issue from climate change.
And they have these factories in Pakistan where it's basically they all have health problems. They
That's
they
I
pollute so
agree.
much.
That's bad. It's a separate issue from climate change, right?
No, the factories that pump out toxic
So,
gases and
to be clear, and this is going to blow you away, Pakistan has more renewables as a percentage of its energy production than the United States does.
this can't be true.
Pakistan has 25% of its energy production coming from renewables. The United States has 23%.
Renewables meaning such as dams and solar panels.
Dams, solar, wind, those kinds of things, yeah. Biomass, I guess, geothermal.
Well, that's interesting because I would think America would have invested more in dams and stuff like that. But
No.
how does America get its energy then if it's not
Mostly from coal and
government?
oil. Or coal and gas, rather.
I wouldn't expect Pakistan to have such a big percentage of renewables, especially at the same time when at the same time they have like some of the most polluted cities on earth.
I mean, again, pollution is not the same as energy production methods, right?
So it's just the carbon emission that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, generally, yes. There are other pollutants which are bad, but they're not as big of an issue that we're seeing right now. Like there are other pollutants, like the various nitrogen compounds, which are like really bad for the environment, like really bad for lungs and stuff. But those are not the things causing climate change.
Okay, what are the biggest CO2 emitters?
Like
We
by
said
country,
shipping
or
industry is 3%. The shipping industry as a whole. What are the biggest?
Yeah, I'm pretty
industries?
sure it's transportation and energy production, like industrial energy production. But I can pull up a chart for that too. Yeah, so global emissions are 33% comes from buildings, like heating buildings, cooling buildings. Another 36% comes from industry, so like factories. 23% comes from transportation, and then 8% comes from other stuff.
Well, I guess then if you have everyone drive electric cars, sort of the problem is almost solved, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean
You're
there's the issue
probably-
of heating. There's the issues of like heating and cooling buildings and industry as well. That makes up about 2/3 of it.
We should have nuclear energy.
Nuclear, yeah. I mean, like if you can do it safely, then nuclear seems good. It's contentious as to whether or not you can do it safely, but
What about the waste of nuclear energy? Where is the waste?
that is the issue. That's the issue, right? That's the thing that you have to deal with. But that might be a problem for future for future humans, because we have a bigger problem right now.
That doesn't seem like a good idea.
I mean, look, so nuclear can actually be stored really well. The issue is just how do you actually do nuclear long term? Because like we know how to store nuclear fuel, like you just put it under a mountain. But in 1,000 years, will the people 1,000 years from now know that that's dangerous?
Maybe we should just throw it into space.
No, well, but then you risk. What if the rocket blows up and then you spread nuclear waste everywhere?
That's true.
That's why we don't do that, because it's really, really dangerous.
Yeah, maybe we also drop it on like an alien planet and maybe they get mad.
Yeah, I think what you would want to do is you would want to just go crash it into the moon. But the issue is
that's a good idea.
there's nothing on the moon.
Yeah, but what if that has like an unpredictable consequences?
Maybe, or maybe crash into the sun. Who knows? The point is that it's really dangerous because what if the rocket blows up?
Yeah, I suppose so. But I don't know. It's kind of difficult to completely remove like fossil fuels. It's possible, but it's difficult.
I mean, it
Like,
will be
for example,
difficult.
the
I
ships.
absolutely agree. It will absolutely be difficult. That doesn't mean that it's impossible, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it.
And what seems to happen is that there's a lot of posturing and signaling, but when you look at, for example, the shipping industry, where there's a lot of talk about this stuff, like most of the ships that are being built right now are based on fossil fuels.
Yep.
Run on fossil fuels.
I believe that.
Or natural gas. But there is a lot of talk, but the ships that are being built, these ships will run for like at least 20 years. They're not built for sustainable fuels.
Yeah, I believe that.
Maybe
like it's a hard problem to solve, but it needs to be solved, right?
I think there needs to be sort of more focused on the areas that actually.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Things like transportation, things like energy production. These are I agree that these are more important than focusing on shipping. But
there also needs to be a more so an incentive for people to buy these electric cars because they're
tax incentives is how you do it. Like that's how you do it, right? You give tax breaks on electric cars and you give tax hikes on non-electric cars.
I suppose a solution, but I think it's going to take time and organizations.
Well, it doesn't have to, right? Like policymakers could just do it.
I think the rushing in a lot of areas and. Like for example, not so much in electric cars, but in some areas I think they're rushing it and have unrealistic expectations.
Rushing it? When we're 25 years behind.
Yeah, we're 5 years behind because they have these unrealistic expectations that they can't fulfill.
Well, no, the point is that we have to fulfill it, otherwise things get really bad really quick.
How much time do we have?
Less. We have negative 25 years. We are 25 years behind schedule.
Wait, what's going to happen?
Increased sea level rises, increased extreme weather events, increased prices of food as food production decreases, huge immigration problems because of massive displacement. Like, there's... if we don't change anything now, in like 50 to 100 years, we will have hundreds of millions of people displaced. Right?
Yes, I was actually thinking about this. Like maybe countries like Southern Europe or North Africa, or there will be uninhabitable.
Southeast Asia. Yeah. Central America. Like all.
This is something.
That's bad. It's really bad. People don't like immigrants already.
Is a damage that has been done reversible?
Probably not. It's close to being done irreversibly, but like there's potentially still time.
So this all has to do with the ozone layer that is outside.
Unrelated to the ozone layer. The ozone layer has been solved.
What is the main problem that causes climate change?
It's CO2 emissions that leads to an increased greenhouse effect.
And there's no consensus on how this is sort of healable or reversible or.
No, you just have to reduce carbon emissions, and then if you can, take carbon out of the environment as well with like carbon scrubbers.
But is the damage that has been done?
No. It's not some permanent thing. Like if you lower global temperatures, the sea level will go back down.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think this is a big problem, but it's more of an acceleration thing. We accelerated very much with our CO2 emissions, but when you look at the Earth, for example, you look at the Earth 4,000 years ago, like North Africa was green, Egypt was green, and when you go way back, it was the Ice Age. The temperature has been rising for quite a while before even humans had industrial technology.
Sure, but I mean, yes, the climate does change on, the climate absolutely does change on like geologic timescales. But what we're seeing right now is something that we're causing. This is not
Yes,
the
it's
normal
definitely
climate change.
it's definitely affected by human activity. Definitely.
All right, Barack Obama, I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for being here, bud. And
Yes, thank you.
thanks for your 8 years of policy. I kid. Obama pulled the world pulled the United States out of the Great Recession, but you know, he wasn't the greatest president. He may have been the greatest president we've had in the last 20 years, but I don't know if that's saying much. Let's see if we have any guests on YouTube. We do not, so let's bring up another guest from TikTok. Obama, he wasn't the greatest president, but he was probably the greatest in the last 20 years. He had the greatest policies. Well, he really didn't, but... Ruben, I did say 20 years, right? I said 20 years. All right, let's talk to True Reviews. True Reviews, how's it going? True Reviews, you there? Oh, he's not there. Let's talk to Keegan. Keegan, how's it going? Do you think that humans cause climate change?
Yes. Well, yeah. What we're facing right now is what humans cause climate change. But I actually want to debate you on how you believe reversing or not reversing climate change, because it can't be reversed, but slowing down carbon emissions and coming to a net zero carbon emissions.
I don't know why you think it can't be reversed. It absolutely could be reversed.
It can be reversed, but we're talking about a long period of time, like thousands of years.
No, I mean, literally, if it's in principle possible to reverse it. Just redirect the entire global economy to carbon scrubbers and just pull the carbon out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, but even with carbon scrubbers and everything, we can once we come to, if the whole entire world were to come to net zero for carbon emissions, it would still take roughly around 2 to 1,000 years to reverse.
In principle, we could become net negative, right?
Yes. In principle, like through a long period of time, yes.
I mean we could become net negative in 10 years if we really wanted to.
I have some studies saying that with the way we're going right now, we won't.
We won't.
Even be there by
but it's in principle possible, right?
2050. And it depends
won't.
on what you're talking about. If you're talking about the world or the United States.
I'm saying the world. Like, in principle, it's possible. It's not going to happen. But it's at least in principle possible.
In principle, it is possible. Just like
there's no like law of physics that makes it impossible, right? That's what I'm saying.
No. There's no laws of physics, but you also have to look at like reasonings and things like that. So you have to understand like just what's going on in the world right now, how people feel, and where climate change is on their mind. So what I was going to talk about, we could talk about that later on. But what I mainly want to talk about is, one, I believe, my first claim I'm going to make is I believe that we're heading towards a better direction, the United States and most of the world, using most because there are some countries that are heading the wrong way, but most of the world is heading towards the right direction since 2007 for going to net zero carbon emissions.
What percentage of the U.S.'s energy production was renewable in 2005?
So that's also another thing. What do you count nuclear energy as renewable?
We can put it into that category if you want.
Okay, well, the United States holds the record for the most amount of nuclear energy produced in the whole entire world.
Yeah, but how much has that changed in the last 20 years?
So we stopped producing nuclear power plants, but
yeah, exactly.
But we have we haven't necessarily been going towards more green energy, more that we have been buying our oil and gas from other countries.
That doesn't solve that doesn't so we haven't done anything to get better.
Well, sure we have. Yeah, we have, but it doesn't.
In what way? In what way have we gotten better?
We've created more. In California, there's more solar panel plants than there was since in 2007.
Yeah. So
And
it's
also,
so
if we
from the
talk
chart that I
about the
looked
Gulf
at,
of Mexico,
the chart that I looked
we
at
are
earlier has like the U.S. increasing its renewable production by about like going from like 18% to like 23% in the last 20 years.
it's not that high. Like I said, it's not that high.
So
But it's still,
you're
it's
saying we're
still,
doing better, like hardly.
we are doing better, but that's still a
We're
better
doing
increase,
better
even though
by
we're
like
not doing as good as other
18% to
countries.
23%.
Even
Like
though we're not doing
so
as good as other countries, but if you look at the total carbon emissions output, we are still doing better.
let's take a look.
Since 2007.
So yeah, so we did peak in 2007. That's true, but
Yes.
you know, we are higher now than we were in like the 80s. So
Well, yeah, that's true, but I mean that's irrelevant to my argument. I'm using the
What's your
argument
argument?
of since 2007.
Why specifically 2007?
Because that's when we peaked in the United States for the most amount of carbon emissions.
Well, then yeah, of course we have less CO2 emissions than the
but
peak.
Yeah, we have.
Well,
less
why?
than the peak.
That's just cherry picking then.
No, that's not cherry picking. That's saying we're.
It's
going
literally
down
cherry
since
picking. You picked the
2007.
peak.
No, if you look.
Wait,
at
no.
if you
To be
look-
clear,
no, hold
that
on.
is the definition of cherry picking. That's what you do when you go cherry picking. You're picking the highest cherry.
Yeah, but do you think that we have pushed forward since 2007, or do you think we're still?
Sure, absolutely we have, just not nearly fast enough and not nearly enough.
We have pushed forward from the top of the line. We aren't going up. There isn't a new top.
Well, we actually are going up at least
since
from
2020.
yeah, since 2020. So
But that doesn't really count because we had a global pandemic and
That's
all
true.
industries kind of shut down. So
that's true. So we will have to see.
I would happily be wrong about that if we do increase more than 2007, but I will be greatly disappointed.
I mean, I hope that we don't, but we're just not. I mean, given our current policies, we're just not really doing anything about it.
And I will agree with we aren't doing enough. I will agree with you on that one. But I don't agree with what you believe on stopping.
Okay, so how do we fix it? How do we prevent the worst outcome and just get the slightly bad outcome?
So first off, we have to understand we have two different parties that run the United States of America. This is just for the United States of America. Around the world, like I know Canada and everything like that has different types of parties, but I don't know about foreign policies as much as I do about the United States of America. But the GOP and the Democrats, you cannot, like, if we were to say let's go completely green emissions, everybody drives electric cars, the GOP will be like, no, that's 50% of America that says no.
It's like 35% of America.
Okay, well, 35, but still, that's 35. They come to elections, it's gonna swing. So what I believe is you have to kind of find a happy medium. So yes, fossil fuels are bad, but there are like natural gas vehicles and hybrid vehicles are safer than or not safer, but better for carbon emissions than sort of things like the gas of V8s and the fully gas thing. So I believe we push more towards a median, like a hybrid, because although that's not going to completely solve our carbon emissions, it's going to get us to a starting place. And then from there, then we slowly move closer and closer to electric vehicles. But also another thing I believe that's just with the transportation for the production, like the industry aspect of it. Obviously, we chose oil for some odd reason back in the whatever years, the United States. So the United States has been built on oil production. Like that is literally what we ran on. For that, we would have to.
We kind of ran on coal, actually, right?
Well, yeah, coal, oil, fossil fuels, whatever.
That's what everybody ran on because it was easily accessible and really, really high energy density.
Yeah, but I mean, still, we ran on that because of J.P. Morgan and the different types of banks. But that's getting into more history. We don't want to repeat ourselves. So what I believe is we need to change. Instead of having oil as liquid gold, we need to have something else as liquid gold. And I believe that liquid gold is actually nuclear power plants. Even though nuclear power plants are about $1 to $2 billion more expensive than a solar panel plant that creates the same amount of energy. Nuclear power plants don't use as much land, and I also believe in like keeping land in industry. So if we were to replace every single oil refinery with a nuclear power plant, we'd actually be close to sub-zero for production of energy.
So
United
to be
States.
clear, you know that like what part of the United States do you live in? Do you mind if I ask?
I live in Texas.
Okay, so you live in Texas. Like, so much of Texas, you could just put solar panels there, and it wouldn't affect anything.
Well, not
Texas is
necessarily.
enormous. There's so much nothing.
If you go, we actually have been doing that. If you go towards, I don't know if you've ever been. I heard you talking about with the last guest that you lived in Arizona, so I don't know if you've ever been to the Panhandle of Texas. But if you go there at night, night's actually the best time to go. You'll see these red lights blinking in the distance. Those are all windmills. So
Nice.
we in Texas we have I think like close to about 40,000 acres of windmills.
That's really good.
But in order for us to go completely green, like carbon neutral, just off of windmills or solar panels, it would take roughly the size of Kentucky.
You're
and
talking about
50
for the whole country.
For the whole entire country, it'd
Yeah.
take roughly the size
Okay.
of Kentucky and $50 trillion, which is more than our debt at 35 trillion.
$50 trillion? I haven't seen that number. I suppose we could probably do the math, but we probably don't need to do that live. I mean, surely we can agree that whatever we do, it's going to be expensive because we're 25 years late, right?
That's why I said if you make it like this is what I'm saying. So like obviously I agree with some sort of carbon tax for right now, but if we make if we turn like green energy or nuclear energy, because I believe like people like nuclear energy is still good. It gives job opportunities and everything like that. So if we were to make more nuclear power plants, it would, one, give more jobs, which the GOP would be happy. Two, it would create green energy, which would make the left.
By the way, I just checked because I'm not sure I bought it, but so in order to go net zero in the next 25 years, you would need $110 trillion for the entire world. I don't think it's $50 trillion for just the US.
Let me find the study. Hold on. I have it right here. Hold on.
And that would be spending $3.5 trillion annually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Elon Musk could just pay. Yeah, you know what? This is another reason why I hate Elon Musk. Elon Musk could just be like, here, entire world. Wait, no, trillion, not billion. Shut up, Lou. No, that's not how that works.
So for national needs, 22,000 miles. Machine. I just had it pulled up, so I'm trying to look for it here.
No, climate people don't like Elon. Nobody likes Elon anymore.
Do climate people like Teslas though?
Oh wait, do climate people like Teslas? Maybe. So I don't know if you trust the WEF for economic things, but the WEF is saying $3.5 trillion a year. I guess is this for the whole world? And this is as of 2 years ago.
Okay, I found it. Let's see. It's actually not specific to so how much land would it require to get most of our electricity from wind and solar? And this says it would take 26 million acres of land, roughly the size of Kentucky. This would be land to be used for solar energy factory or facilities, energy storage, EV charging stations, and electrical infrastructure. So
that's not honestly, that's not that bad. Like consider this, like Kentucky's not so big, and like there's a lot of empty space in the US, right? Like a lot of empty space. Like
yeah,
so like you could fit all of those solar panels in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And then you could put the infrastructure where you need the infrastructure, right?
Well, I don't agree with building new infrastructure. This is where I disagree with you on. Like a lot of people are like, well, let's just take all this empty land and put this stuff here. But we already have like hundreds and thousands up to, I don't know how much, somebody can look this up. I haven't done the research, but I guarantee we at least have 1 million acres of land of just of just like oil refineries, oil plants. You know, I guarantee you, if we were to replace all that with nuclear power plants or any type of other green energy source, that
nuclear power plants take like 20 years to get commissioned, though.
Yeah, that's why we'd have to pass policies to get it done.
See, my only issue with people who propose that we solely use nuclear, generally like I'm generally like okay with nuclear. Like there are some risks, definitely, but like generally I think that nuclear is at least like a partial solution. But like you can't solve the whole problem with nuclear because you don't want low levels of regulation on nuclear power plants, because that's how you end up with Chernobyl. So you have to have very, very careful commissioning procedures, which take a long time.
Yeah, so that would give more jobs. I'm thinking of nuclear as because a lot of counter arguments that people use about going green is, well, if we just have a bunch of solar panels, who's going to work at the power plant factories and everything like that? Well, if you go, well, here you can work at a power plant factory that won't cause damage to the earth, it would kind of like counterfeit their argument. You know what I mean?
But you're not listening. My point is that commissioning nuclear power plants takes a very long time, and it takes a very long time not just because we do it slowly, but because you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
And so like you can't just speed that up with more people, right?
No, I'm not talking about
so nuclear power plants are not a solution to the urgent problem that we currently have. It's perhaps a long-term solution, but it's not a solution to getting us close to net zero as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's what I've been stating. There's no, well, there is ideally like possible, but it's not best fit for like tomorrow to go completely carbon neutral. So I'm talking about like a long-term building an infrastructure that's.
I thought you didn't want to build infrastructure.
That's bigger than oil and gas. That's green. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, like if you want to promote more nuclear, fine, but
it doesn't have to just be nuclear. It could be other things. Like I know this is going off topic off of carbon emissions, but like for instance, like people who go out into the ocean and pick up trash, like paying people to do that, you know, or different types of pollution areas.
Is that really our biggest concern though?
No, but it's at least helping towards going towards a more green
yeah, I just don't think that that's the thing that we need to work on. Like I don't think that that's the thing that we need to be putting money towards right now.
Well, sure, we got a trash pile in the Pacific Ocean right now that's the size of which state? I think it's size of
Texas.
Alaska. I think that's a pretty bad.
Just to be clear, and not to diminish how horribly polluted the oceans are, but you know it's not like literally a trash island, right? Like it's a region of the ocean where there's like more microplastics per cubic centimeter than the rest of the ocean. It's not like literally like an island made of trash.
That's still pretty bad because we eat fish, we eat all kinds of stuff.
It's definitely not good. Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that we could talk about that is not good, but I feel like when you put it on a scale of what's worse than what, it just, you can't really put it on a scale. You can just
yes you can. Yes you can. You absolutely can.
Then I disagree with you on that one.
Wait, do you think that like litter in New York is as big of a problem as like climate change?
No, but like microplastics in the ocean, I believe, is as big as a problem as climate change.
Is it actually though?
Yes,
what's the evidence? What's the evidence of that? Because actually, as far as I know, and you know, I'm very poorly educated on this. I've only read a few things, but like there was a study recently that showed that there's actually like way more microplastics in the brain that we thought, but like it actually isn't having any negative effects.
Okay, well, we can use another thing, like no clean water. Like more than 99.9% of America doesn't even have clean water.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. I agree with that.
I think that's pretty. I think for at least a short term, that's worse than. Well, like I said, I don't like putting it on scale.
Wait a minute, hold on. I don't think that's true at all. 99.9% of America doesn't have access to clean water.
Let's look.
Wait. You know that would mean that only 300,000 people in America have access to clean water, right?
Water from the like city water.
From the tap, yeah. Yeah, that number's like completely made up.
It's 95%. No, approximately 99.2% has continuous access to. Okay, so continuous access to water, clean water, but.
So, in 2016, over 90% of the nation's community water systems were in compliance with all published EPA standards.
Community? Which one was that one?
This is coming from an article by, or a post on the EPA's website from 2016. Like, the water in the United States is not perfect. It's better in Europe than it is in the United States. But, like, most people in the United States have drinkable, safe tap water.
According to the government. I don't
who else is going to have that data?
I don't know, but they also say like Houston's drinking water is clean and suitable for people to drink. Yet in one of our major wards, the third ward, people are having an increase in diseases and cancers due to the water pollution. But anyway,
how do you know it's due to the water pollution?
Because they're doing studies on it, private individual studies.
Oh, like are these actual like peer-reviewed studies, or are they just people like?
Well, let's see. I'm actually looking at that right now. Water scandal. Yeah, so it includes like city employees lying about the condition of the water.
That seems bad.
Yeah, it definitely is bad. It's 100% bad. But lying about water repairs. Where is this?
So look, we're a bit off topic.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So
we agree that more needs to be done to fix the problem, and surely you agree that we caused it, right?
Yes, I agree with that.
Then I gotta kick you out, Keegan.
No, hold on. I don't agree with what you said about the Democrats, okay? Because if you actually truly wanted to solve this issue, you'd vote for the Green Party. You wouldn't say that I understand the Green Party is.
But no, you wouldn't, because they don't have any power, right? Like, they're never going to win an election, so.
Well, you don't know that if you don't support them, if you don't actively reach out and support them,
For what it's worth, I have in the past voted for them in like local elections where it's relevant. But like on a national ticket, like it's not like no. It's not how it works.
You could still vote for Democrats, yet get together and rally for the Green Party.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Although the Green Party is weirdly anti-nuclear, so.
Yeah, like I said, I don't agree with everything. Like, there's no party I can officially assign myself to.
Yeah, we just need a climate change party. That's what we need. All right, Keegan, I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for being here, bud.
Right, see you later. Bye.
We need a what was the what was her name? Greta. We need a Greta party. That's what we need. We need Greta. Whatever happened to her? Is she all right? She doing okay?
Hello?
Katie, how's it going?
Hello?
Can you hear me all right?
Hi, sorry, I just put my headphones in.
Great.
I
Do you think
just
that we
had a
cause
quick-
climate change?
Yes, I do. I actually just
Okay.
had a quick question for you.
Sure.
And sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've never been on live before. But
It's okay.
so the guy before me was talking about nuclear, and little plug here. My grandfather was a nuclear physicist, and he
Cool.
was actually at the time he was passing away, he was so depressed about it. Chernobyl was happening, and I was curious because he mainly focused on fusion. What do you think about nuclear fusion? And because I have no idea, and
It always seems like it's 15 years away.
Right.
It might actually be 15 years away this time, but I don't think that we can rely on that.
Right. Is anybody actually, are we actively pursuing it,
Oh yeah,
or,
billions
you
of
know,
dollars every year is going towards fusion research. Absolutely, yeah.
okay. Okay, so maybe eventually in
Maybe,
a
but that's
100 years or something.
it's not a solution we can rely on. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, that was just my quick question. Thank
Of
you very
course.
much.
Thanks for being here, Katie.
Yeah.
Got to get some opposition in here. Yeah, I guess Greta got canceled because it turns out that she's anti-capitalist, which is based and Greta pilled. But William, why do you want to talk about climate change? What are we talking about here? Billiam?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it
Over
going?
there?
Do you think that we
Yeah,
cause climate change?
like only a tiny bit,
Why only a tiny bit?
because the ice age is a water cycle.
Yeah, but we're
So-
not talking about a geologic timescale thing that's happening right now.
But it is a gradual effect that will
Right, we're not seeing a
continue
gradual
until-
effect. We're not seeing a gradual climate change. We're seeing a very rapid climate change, which is how we know we're causing
that's
it.
part of the future. Well, the carbon, like we had cattle in the billions and like bison herds and buffalo herds, and we slaughtered all them. And now Bill Gates is like, oh, cows and their methane and their farts, and it's like, no, like we had hundreds of millions of bison roaming around in North America that we killed for the trains. And
I don't
for
think we had
another reason
hundreds
that-
of millions, by the way.
Well, there was large herds, like 30 million, 40 million of just buffalo. Like you're going back to 1820 before we, fought the Native
No
Americans.
way,
and-
like 60 million? That's crazy.
Yeah, there's and then there's
That's so
bison,
many.
and then there's wildebeest, and then there is so many other large herd animals that roam this world farting.
Okay,
their
but what does that
butts
have to do
off.
with climate change?
Okay, so it's just one of the points. So when we have water, okay, so like water runs from the ice age and fills up the massive sea that's in North America and populates water everywhere, so that there is a massive thermal blanket of water around the earth. So that, like, the deserts don't become so cold and so dry, because there are no deserts. Like the Sahara is a lush area 10,000 years ago.
Okay.
So, like, Chad has dried up, Ariel has dried up, the Ariel Sea,
what
the
does this have to do
Caspian
with
is
climate
going
change?
away. So, without the evaporate is not there to protect and maintain the thermal barrier over the night-to-day cycle, so that the drastic temperature changes can occur in a far greater state. And then that allows for forest fires, that then allows for the actual thermal blanket that will then coat the earth and cause the climate change. So
to be clear,
everything
you
dries
think that you think that the sudden spike in temperature is just a coincidence?
I think that it is related. Yes, like we have been burning coal and burning oil, which is carbon trapped in the ground for sure. But in the same instance, when the Canadian forest fires and the Australian forest fires went through, the amount of carbon released in those events was far greater than what we've pumped out in the past, like 50 years.
It's actually not really. And you can actually account for those things, and you can see that while they do have a transient effect, natural disasters like volcanoes and forest fires, they don't actually have a global. They don't actually have a global long-term effect.
Well, I mean, like in the Krakatoa, like there's we can see the day, like
Yeah, those are transient effects. They have transient effects. They will not cause global long-term effects like the ones that we're seeing. We're seeing long-term effects on the scale of decades to centuries that we are causing.
In an instance of global drying, though, the fires become more frequent and the deserts
Right.
expand.
But so a causative analysis has been done, investigating things like natural disasters, including forest fires, including bushfires, including volcanoes. Those things just do not have a very strong causative relationship with the temperature increase.
All right, so now what is the greatest carbon sink other than algae in the ocean?
It is algae in the ocean. Presumably,
Okay,
maybe like the Amazon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like so other plant life, right? Like so, and
Sure.
if we water plant life, that is the greatest carbon sink. Like it's
I
the
mean,
most productive one because we can eat it after, right?
Well, yeah.
So it's not just wasting chemical
sure.
process. We can eat the apple that we grew on the tree.
But sure, okay.
So for a proper solution, we have to water the planet. We have to use volcanoes to desalinate water, sequester those volcanoes, and just pump water everywhere, drain floods, and use them to water droughts. So instead of building pipelines for oil, we need to build pipelines for water and build a massive transit system. So a global transit system that runs on electricity that can do all the delivery without
What's
crude
powering
oil.
the electricity? Or what's powering the transit
So
system?
you would use nuclear, you would use your volcanoes because you're pumping
How are
salt
you,
water into
how are you
lava.
suggesting that we harness volcanoes?
Okay, so you use a Gatling gun statement for like the barrels. So you collect lava in a Gatling barrel and then shift it to the next barrel and shift it to the next barrel. You would slightly cool the barrel, so you would have thermal cooling throughout the system, and you can use ceramics that will give you electricity from the heat as they cool and keep cool. You would then utilize.
This seems much more challenging than actually just going carbon neutral.
Well, sure, but you can go molten carbon fuel cell then. So you're using hot carbon CO2 to crack CO3, which is a heavy pollutant that comes out of the volcano. And so you're now breaking that down.
You are suggesting we do terraforming rather than just changing our energy production modes.
Like we make lava bricks, we make sea salt, we make fresh water, we make power.
This is not a practical solution.
Well, it's just.
And people get mad at me for saying that I'm not being practical.
So we build a global power grid in the Global Postal Service. We build a water network, a water utility in the Global Postal Service, and we can transfer all the power from one nation to the next. We can dump the breaking power of rush hour back into the system so it can transfer over to the next time zone and power their rush hour. And you just use power as a respective global commodity in a very, very efficient way because we can transfer it around the world in seconds, right? Like it's something that's the easiest thing to ship. So like, why wouldn't you make it so accommodable and easily done? So like, that's like a general solution.
Because it's not easy. You're suggesting we change the global power structure like way more than is required just to be carbon neutral.
Well, yeah, but it's for the future, right? You plan a road for the next 2,000.
Okay, yeah, but we have a problem that we need to solve now, not a problem that we have to solve in 500 years.
And the problem is, though, the major problem though is if we run out of crude oil, like we have a limited amount of that stuff. Like I know they keep finding small pockets, and there's the new pocket under Antarctica that they're all going to war over, but in an indication, like we don't have a lot of oil. Like
yeah, that's why we have to go carbon neutral with green energy production.
Yeah, but we have to be able
to we don't need to do like lava tubes.
No. That's just doing that at Hawaii and having fun with their power plant and making fresh water with it. Like that's a thing you can do. But in general, I would go nuclear, but nuclear in a remote location because you can ship power, so you can put that anywhere you want. And I would also go with massive water because Canada had 9,000 water mills powering like grist mills and doing stuff like that. Like
yes, hydroelectric is very good.
Yeah, we have I think there's 150 hydropower plants in Canada now, and there's all these dead canals that just sit there with like an inn or a boutique on them in the old mill. Like it's like, hey, that's megawatts of energy. You're just sitting there as a tourist attraction.
So I agree that we should have more hydroelectric, but I don't think that. I think that your plan is far more far-fetched than mine. But it sounds like you agree. So do you agree that we caused it?
No, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a water issue to me. So long as we can water the earth, we can solve the issue.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that we caused the water issue?
No, I think that's a natural cycle of the ice age. I think.
Can you give any examples of this happening in the distant past this rapidly?
This rapidly. Well, yeah, there are extinction events where this has occurred rapidly.
Okay, let me ask a different question. Let me ask a slightly different question. Because yes, when a meteor hits the Earth, absolutely stuff happens rapidly. When a supervolcano erupts, absolutely stuff happens rapidly. Can you give me an example of this happening when there isn't some global catastrophe that happens suddenly?
Well, there was an event that was not the Precambrian. I think it was the Devonian extinction, where all the massive amounts of algae switched from producing oxygen to producing carbon, and it starved off all the carbon dioxide. So
apparently, at this point, it's not clear what the cause was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Well, that was that old theory then, I guess.
But even then, I don't know if there was significant climate change during that. But I don't think we have enough information on that.
Yeah, there was an environmental, like it was about a dramatic gas shift, as what I was told back when I was a kid. So like that was a long time ago, right? A whole bunch of studies have been done since then. Like look at dinosaurs now. Oh,
So, oh, where'd he go?
sorry.
All
I'm
right.
good.
Well,
Apologies.
I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, like,
So
if I could cite you evidence, would you believe that that we are the cause of the current climate change?
You see, I have no problem with the idea that yes, we are enriching the carbon blanket. Like I have
Yes,
no
and
problem with that. But that to me
carbon
is-
blanket is the direct cause of the increase in temperatures.
But again, with the enough water in the environment, we wouldn't have the issue. Like so, because of also the position we are.
If we
in
hadn't,
the ice
so
we are
here-
accelerating the ice.
Okay, so William, the question is, if we hadn't emitted the carbon, would we be currently having the issue?
It would still be occurring, just slightly less. Like, and we would.
Do you have
still be
any
dealing with
evidence
the
for that
issue.
claim?
Okay. Another question. Okay, here.
Do you have?
When
Hold on.
Canada
Now
is
I'm pinning you
under-
to this. Do you have any evidence for that claim that it would still be happening at just slightly less?
Well, yes, because the ice age cycle still does that. I mean, that is the natural.
So when you
occurrence.
say
If it's
slightly
hot
less,
and
you
then
mean
it's
like
cold.
100 times slower?
I mean, like maybe it would be 200 years from now instead of now, and that would be if
Okay,
we
do you have
weren't
any
burning
evidence
it
for
all
that?
the way back to the
Because
1900s.
ice age cycles are on the order of tens of thousands of years, not in
Yes,
the order
okay,
of
and
hundreds
that's
of
fine.
years.
But we are at the end. We are at the like the period of warming. We're in a global warming period. The global warming period will increase until all the water is in the ocean, and then the oceans get cold, and then it snows from the bottom of the ocean in Antarctica.
You're still not giving me
Antarctica.
evidence. I'm asking for evidence that it would only be slightly slower.
Well, I mean that's just because of our carbon emission is there, but our carbon emission will also settle out and be eaten by life. Like it'll sink into the oceans and cause algae.
What's the average lifespan of a carbon molecule in the
Oh.
carbon dioxide molecule in the atmosphere?
Not fair, too scientific. I'd have to look it up.
All right, well, I'm looking it up for you. It's between 300 and 1,000 years.
Okay, so but that's to the covalent bond.
No, it's just because it hangs out in a pretty high part of the atmosphere.
Okay, all right. So that's that. I mean, I can't argue against the idea that we are putting out pollutants, but at the same time, I would say that it is dramatically about the water cycle. That because the Sahara has dried out, everything like it's a continuation of that cycle. And again, I would ask, if Canada is crushed under a kilometer of ice in 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 years, is that a climate crisis?
Sure, that's not the current crisis that we're having.
But is it not a natural truth? Does Canada not have to be crushed under a kilometer sheet of ice?
No, and we can confront that when we get to it.
But it has to be. If you don't, you'll have stagnation of your environment. You won't.
I don't
replenish
care
the
about
groundwater
what
in the
might happen in 1,000 years. I care about ensuring
So,
that my
okay.
children and their children don't
But
have
as
to fight for
scientists, we have
resources.
to worry about the repercussions of our actions today. So
Yes,
if we are going
but
to
that
correct
is
it,
absolutely true. But we have a current bigger problem.
yeah, okay. So I mean, I'm just like again, like I do a lot of thinking about this because I wanted to solve this problem when I was a kid. Was the crude oil crisis? Like that to me is the big issue. Is that if we run out of crude oil, we all go extinct. Like we enter Mad Max, and that's what happens. It's a free for all, and that is the greatest fear of all.
If we have 2 feet of sea level rise, we have the same issue.
Yes, for sure. But okay, so to replace global shipping and then to be able to pull off water out of the ocean in a large enough volume, we have to be able to refill the Caspian and the Aral Sea, which takes a massive economic force, which is then supplied by a global postal service being able to unite the entire world in a type 1 civilization, which then can be hit.
Good luck on that in the next 50 years.
Well, that's the thing though. I mean, I've been working on it for a while, and it's nobody. But
yeah, because it's not practical
solution.
at all.
Well, it's just building a rail line. Like that's all it is, and then it's replacing a rail line with a modern rail line for the 21st century, and doing it practically so that it's done with science and respect for the future. So it's a simple system, but you can put a rail line in that is powered in segments to the baseline of the wheel statement of the the wheel treads, and it just goes. And it says goes all the way around the world, and it doesn't need a battery to carry around, and it doesn't need fuel. It just
building
goes
a
because it's gotta use
rail
power grid.
line that goes all the way around the world is like an enormous infrastructure challenge.
Indeed, but again, a pyramid will reach around the world in one brick. It is doable. It is just annoying. The worst part, actually, the worst part is
will reach around the world. What?
The pyramid, if you take all the bricks and it'll stretch, like the amount of work done, they'll stretch around the world like that. There's a lot of bricks in the pyramid, like this.
Okay, yeah, it's because volume scales with the cube of the size.
It's one of those fun little facts, and it's not actually true to the planet, so don't like worry about that. But it was an estimate, I imagine. But anyway, the idea of the production is hard. Is building a world wonder. It's building a global world wonder. No doubt about that. But it is what is truly needed to replace.
I don't think that that's what's needed. I think that we can just go carbon neutral and we'll at least stave off the worst of it.
Yeah, but to make it bigger, faster, and more efficient, we have to go forward. We have to unite, and so that we can go out in outer space and explode. Like that's like no more guns needed. It's world peace. You deliver world peace with the system.
Why don't we do that after we solve the current crisis that we're working with?
But this is solving that crisis.
This is solving that crisis in 200 years, and we have 50.
We have probably 50 before hoarding is horrible. Maybe 45 or 40 before hoarding is horrible.
So why not solve that problem, and then we can focus on the other stuff?
Because that is the we don't need oil if you can put the wind power from Normandy or the wind power in the Baltic.
You know that shipping electricity isn't easy, right?
Yes, I know that. Like it would take there's
enormous losses.
Yeah, there would, and that would be us trying to create like a crystal system that would be trying to be linked to power it. And that would be again in the future, but you would just use power bundles, and you would replace the entire above ground power grid with a below ground, much more stable, heavy system.
Yeah, so nobody would. So that it's just not a solution in the next 50 years. It's just
it's a greater backbone. I mean, it's a greater backbone to the electrical grid.
It's not a solution in the next 50 years. Like you need to confront that. This is not a solution, right?
You need that power grid anyway if you're going to power all your batteries and all your lawnmowers and all your buses and all your RVs and all your SUVs and all your fishing boats and all that stuff is going to get powered by a battery. You still have to have that electrical grid to plug it in. You might as well.
Yeah, we already have an electrical grid.
Put it right in the road. What's that?
The problems that or the solutions that you're suggesting are not going to happen. They're not even on the table.
And that's an issue. But I mean, once again,
it's not an issue because they're bad solutions to the current problem we have.
Otherwise you can get power assisted horse carts. I mean, you can go back to that and have an oxen pull your cart and put an alternator in the thing. I mean, there are other solutions, but they all suck too. Like a photonic battery, you're going to shoot at each other.
The current best solution is invest heavily in solar, wind, and hydroelectric. Invest heavily in electric storage, and then try to wean off of the carbon emitting energy production methods as quickly as possible. That's the solution. That is the solution.
But what I fear is not doing anything, and we all just go back to coal. Like that's what I see is going to happen.
What I just said is not an example of nothing.
Yeah, but once again, like what's the idea? What's the solution? Do you have?
I just told you what the solution is.
Is to wean off, yeah, but then how do I get oranges from Argentina in the middle of winter?
Maybe you don't.
Well, that's not fair, and I want that, and I want HBO, so I want a global postal service that's going to increase my computer system, it's going to increase my electrical system, it's going to increase water utility, and it's going to allow for massive transportation of goods, almost super cheap.
Also, you can get oranges from like Arizona in winter, like it doesn't have to be.
Well, I'm in Canada, so I mean, like
you can get them from Arizona. An electric truck can drive it to you.
Yeah, but then again, the electric truck has to charge how many times? I'm not getting them fresh anymore, or unless they're transferring.
You're not getting them fresh You're not getting them fresh now.
Then I can get them fresher if I have a high-speed rail line.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because
I want
the amount of okay, I understand that you want it. I want luxury gay space communism, okay? And I'm not getting that.
That would be weird. Luxury gay space communism. Okay,
yeah,
no, that's like Star Wars or Star Trek.
Yeah,
Star Trek.
It's a Star Trek. Sorry, fully automated luxury gay space communism. That's what I want. But we're not gonna get that, at least not in the next 100 years. So we make do with what we can, okay? William, I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for being here.
It is the honest, like, conventional.
Oh, I cut him off mid-sentence because I thought that he disconnected. Yeah, fully automated luxury gay space communism is that's where we want to be going, right? All right, y'all. What are we doing? What are we doing? This background, how do y'all feel about it? I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it seems alright, but it also kind of looks like an orange. Like, it was supposed to look like a burnt earth, but like on the left. But like, I feel like I need a different... I don't know, what should I have in the background? You know, like the font? If I zoom in, like I can't zoom in. That's the trouble, see? Because if I zoom in, then there's blank space behind me, which I don't like. Yo, do I need to go back to the animated fire? Yeah, if anybody wants to come up with a oops. If anybody wants to come up with an actual background for me and just post in the Discord, like the background image, the text, or and maybe with some text or whatever, by all means. I'd absolutely love any help that anybody wants to offer. But in the meantime, in the meantime. Yeah, I just kind of threw this together after work. Oh, we have a guest in the TikTok guest box. What's the server? It's in the link tree in my bio. I don't think I can run the fire. It's too hard on my computer. Look, the thing is, I have to have some text saying what the topic is. And then I need a link, and I need the join if you disagree thing. Like, I need that. I need all of that. Davids, how's it going?
Hi, I was actually just about to say you need a new background, but I'll make you one and put it in the Discord.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like, I might not take it, but you know, I'd appreciate it if, you know, if anybody wants to make an effort, like, I'll take a look. Yep. But certainly you don't disagree with me, right?
I'm sorry?
Certainly you don't disagree with me, do you?
No, I don't disagree with you. I think you should go back to the flames, though.
My computer can't handle it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, once I move back to the States, I'm probably going to get a better computer that I should be able to stream more effectively on. But until then, we're stuck with a static background.
Okay. All right. I'll work on something.
All right, David. Take care.
Thanks.
My PC doesn't suck. It's just I'm multi-streaming to YouTube. Like, it's not a great PC, but I am multi-streaming to YouTube, and both TikTok and OBS eat a lot of frame time. So it's just the multi-streaming that's tough on the computer, like rendering two things.
Hello.
Jess, how's it going?
I kind of agree, but I also kind of don't agree.
Jess, how old are you?
18.
What's your birth year?
2006.
Okay. So I can do math, and yeah. So why do you disagree?
Because 100 major corporations are about like 70% of global greenhouse gases.
Okay. Are those made of humans?
Yeah, but that's not like we. That's not like.
So
I mean,
we refers to humanity.
Okay, then yeah, of course. What?
Okay. Some people disagree.
It's not like the working class though. It's not like us. It's like them. You know. All right, whatever.
Sure. All right.
Okay,
Take care. I mean, look, I'm with you on that. It's not. I agree. It's a bourgeoisie problem. If you go, but I mean, there is a consumption issue. That's definitely true. All right, let's talk to Future.
Hi.
Future,
So,
how's it going?
I'm not sure about this topic, but do you have a video about this? I can look it up, or
Nope.
how many years do we have
I
to
mean,
live then?
I mean, like the Earth's not gonna light on fire, so humanity is not gonna like all die. At least
Right.
not anytime soon. But like the life is just gonna get significantly worse.
But due to the greenhouse gases, but in a billion years, the sun will explode anyway, destroying Earth and everything. So
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that though. I'm worried about like my children and my children's children. Not worried about like whatever humanity evolves to in a billion years.
right. So the reason is because of the greenhouse. I mean, not greenhouse. The carbon. What's that?
Carbon dioxide. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what's the end result gonna be? Like it's gonna reduce the oxygen, or the
No,
water will?
it's increased temperature, which will mean less food production, will mean more displaced peoples, will mean more severe weather events, more extreme temperature fluctuations, just generally bad.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, I'll look it up. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Oh, he left. Yeah, so we're not going to turn into Venus. I don't think that there's enough carbon on the planet for us to turn into Venus. Maybe there is, who knows? But still bad though. How can I shut down a flat earther who thinks gravity can't contain gas? Ask them or tell them about Bernoulli's law. Why are you trying to change the climate? Because the way it's currently changing is our fault, and we should stop trying to change it. Methane is worse, but it doesn't last as long. So Ruben, I don't even have a car. I take public transport and I walk everywhere. So I mean that is a luxury for me because I live in Europe and I live in a city. But like, you know, the US could it's so much easier to be low, like to have a low individual emission in Europe because you can walk places and you can take public transport, which is electric. So like the US should just get on that shit. We need more trains. We need more, you know, trams. We need more walkable cities. I want myself a 15-minute city. I wouldn't use public transportation. It's inconvenient. Well, then you're the problem. Yeah, honestly, 15-minute cities are so good for your mental health. Like, well, okay, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but like, I like that I can like walk to a bakery to get bread. Like, that's nice. I haven't done it in like 2 weeks, but I like that idea. It's nice. It's good for your brain. Is public transportation in Europe bad when it comes to homelessness? There's not really a big homeless issue here. Yeah, streets were funded by Big Car. True. Can you DoorDash bread there? Yeah, I absolutely could. Gross health? What do you mean gross health? Yeah, sitting in traffic sucks. Why would anybody want to do that? What if someone steals your marble rye while walking home? Look. They won't do that. Frontal lobe health is maintained by taking walks every day.
I don't appreciate being called out on live.
Look, I need to do it too. Being in Austria was so good though.
It was so good.
Y'all, I was in Salzburg like this past weekend, and it's such a good city to be in. By the way, I'm in Central Europe, so. All right, y'all. I don't know where all the guests went. It looks like our guests are out of steam, if you will. So let us see what's going on. See what's going on elsewhere. Oh, I was mentioned in a post. I don't like that. So maybe we'll end the live here. Good. It was no. I think that we'll end the live here. It was a good attempt. We'll try this topic again next week. And we'll maybe do it with a different background, like a slightly different background. Maybe draw some more people in. We'll try to make this a weekly regular. I'm going to be taking a break from the Flat Earth ones because nobody shows up anymore. So we'll try to make this weekly regular and see what we can do. In the meantime, why don't we just go raid Ian? And then I'll probably hop into their live because why not? So I'll see you guys then. And we'll be live tomorrow with a peer review. Take care, everybody.